queers. What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today, USA.
USA.
Okay, we're actually here to talk about Blank, the Series 1 finale, Season 1, Episode 6, but at the day that we recorded this, the United States women's national team won the gold medal in soccer, so there's that. So,
Woo!
Happy Gold Medal Day to those that celebrate. Alright, but before we get into this episode, there's no soccer in this episode, so, quick plug. Just if you're new here, hello and welcome. You came in for the season finale. That's really interesting. What an episode to pick. If you're not familiar with us, we're going to go scene by scene through this entire lovely, amazing episode. If you want additional Blank content, if you head over to our Patreon, there's a whole bunch of you over there. Hello, everyone that has joined. You guys are having fun over there. So many. We have reactions to the entire series out over there. We put select highlights on YouTube because editing reasons, but the full entire series, all of every wonderful minute is all on Patreon. So have fun over there. For $5 a month, you can get all that.
There's so much content.
There's so much content. Also, if you're a super supporter, we have a few newer you guys. Hello and welcome. You guys get extra bonus content. So for $15 a month, you can get in the super tier, and you get extra stuff like we just gave Sam and Nung's sister Song an entire novel and a backstory. So if you're into that, it's probably one of our funniest things. We just improv'd it. That's hanging out over there. So agree or disagree with us. That was fun.
And like our regular content, it's quite long for backstory.
It's about an hour. It's an hour. It's pretty funny though. And if you don't want to do all that, and you're like, I ain't got money for this, that's totally fine. If you want to talk media with us, you can head over to our Discord. We now have a Thai Girl Love channel over there, and everybody's been having a fun time discussing Blank and just all the shows that are coming out every week. So you want to come join other people who like talking about this, the loyal pin as it goes week by week, come on over there and talk to everybody. It's a fun time.
Some of my favorite things is like people commenting and on Patreon and I believe YouTube and saying Big Nueng and Little Nueng. I feel victorious because of that.
Yep. Thank you for adopting our language. We appreciate it.
Anyway, let's get into episode 6 of season 1 of Blank.
Let's do it.
Where we pick up with the same scene we just watched and talked about in episode 5.
What a scene.
Like, half this episode is stuff we've already watched. Like, the only thing new in this scene is that Big Nueng kisses Little Nueng back.
She sure does.
But, like, I understand that this was a big deal, so they just really wanted to drag it out.
Also, like, of all the things to rewatch, the lead-up is pretty fucking good. Like, I will take that.
I'd rather watch this than, like, a scene with Chet again.
Correct. So. Exactly. I'd take this over the weird cold open of the last episode that made no sense. So I'd rather take 30 minutes of this. But since we're here dragging this out, let's talk about this kiss because, wow. So, like you said, the key thing with this is that, so where we actually left off at the end of 105 is, like, Little Nueng kissed Big Nueng while her eyes were closed, and then Big Nueng wakes up out of her dream and is like, oh, and like they start staring at each other, it gets super intense, and they start inching closer. And it's not it's Big Nueng is moving them both closer together. This is all Big Nueng. Okay? So the whole thing, okay? And so she initiates the kiss. And I have to say that, like, their intense eye contact, like, immediately, the moment she opens her eyes, it's just that intense stare that she does so well, like, is there an award for staring? Just give it to Faye, because oh my god, her intense staring, I've never seen anything like it. Poor
Faye
little dog
gets
slash Yoko.
For everything.
It's amazing. Like, yeah, she should just everything. Just
Faye
award.
Gets the gold medal.
Big Nueng gets the gold. You know what we forgot to do? We forgot to hydrate for Faye before we started this. The hell's wrong with us?
All right. Technically it's for Big Nueng, but yes, Faye.
Hydrate for Faye. And, on a scale of 0 to Faye, Big Nueng gets the Faye Award for staring, okay? I'm just saying. Disagree, put it in the comments. Okay, so contrast her intense staring with the fact that the way she, like, holds Little Nueng is almost like she's this precious little thing. So it's just this interesting contrast that she has, like the intensity and then like the softness of it, which is really great. Okay, then we get to the kiss part, which again is all Nueng. So Big Nueng leans in and pulls Little Nueng towards her. And this kiss, they wanted the lead up because this lasts a few seconds. Like, it's not like a little nothing. It's like they hang out there for a solid few seconds. And what I want to note about this, which is really interesting, is that I think fireworks are going off in Big Nueng's body, and she's like not in control of herself at this moment. Because when the kiss stops, it's not because Big Nueng pulls away. Big Nueng does not move. Like, she's frozen in this moment, and it's Little Nueng who pulls away, which is really interesting. And it speaks to how much this is affecting Big Nueng. The only movement she makes is opening her eyes, and then they stare at each other and do not break eye contact at all. So it's like this big moment of like truth coming from Big Nueng. Because again, the lead up to this too is Little Nueng being like, oh, can you even love me? So this is, I think, Big Nueng saying yes without saying yes. Like classic, right? This whole family is terrible at talking sometimes, but really good at being like, I'm just going to show you and not say anything. Because plausible deniability later. They grew up with lawyers, I suppose.
That's so true, though. Big Nueng is not good at saying things. I mean, Sam wasn't either. So
Sam was worse. Sam was so bad at it. She was the actual worst at it. Nueng is better, but when it comes to like communicating her feelings, like she's emotionally very stunted. So like I don't know that she knows how sometimes to even say it. And with this whole thing with Little Nueng, she battles with it in this episode in particular. It's like facing the truth of this is very hard for her. So this scene is very much a nobody has any masks on. It's a very vulnerable scene where they're being, I mean, Little Nueng is constantly true about how she feels, but Big Nueng is being truthful about how she feels, like through her actions. And to Little Nueng, this is a way of her communicating, this is real, it's not one-sided. And I think Big Nueng, too, to herself, is kind of admitting, like, I can't deny, like, this is getting harder and harder for me to just be in denial about, which is the only way this is going to move forward is if she gets over the denial of it, but it's hard for her.
I mean, there's been so much ingrained in her from a young age.
Conceal, don't feel, so let them know.
Well, now they know.
By they, I mean one person knows. She knows. She's going to call you out later for it.
Yeah, I mean, people will find out eventually.
They'll know. They'll know.
It goes down about as well as it did in Frozen. So
okay, wait, no. It goes from Frozen to like the scene in Beauty and the Beast with the villagers and the pitchforks and the fire who come to storm the castle. Like that's where we jump to that. So her fears are not unfounded and not unreasonable. It's just never forget that this is Big Nueng's first time being in love, and that's the other thing that's making this very hard for her. She just genuinely doesn't know what to do with her feelings or how to express them, how to accept them, because she spent so long without them. So this is it's a hard situation for her to be in. And then to have your partner be somebody who's just so open about it, like that's gotta be hard. You mentioned it in another episode, Kaitlynn, where you're like, I wonder if Big Nueng, part of the reason she likes Little Nueng is she's like, I wish I could be more like you when it comes to these things, with just being so honest about how you feel and just expressing it so easily. Like, I'm sure Big Nueng would love to be able to do that. It's just, she spent so much time repressed. It's hard to break old habits. It's very hard. You know, she spent 30 plus years like that. It's challenging.
Honestly, I feel like both of them want to be like the other person because, yeah, what you said, and then Little Nueng is seeing Big Nueng, who broke away from her family now. And, like, that's what she wants to do. Now, Big Nueng is like, no, let's not do that. Let's try to keep the peace, basically. We're not fully there yet, but, I mean, she tried to run away in the first episode, so yeah, we're technically there, so... Anyway.
To me, that's what makes a good couple, because they have elements that balance each other out, and they're kind of, like, seeking that in each other, and together they're better than they are separate, so, like, that is totally their dynamic.
But, like, these types of relationships, I feel like that's what makes someone a better person, is having someone that you aspire to be like, but creating that balance with the two extremes.
Yeah, totally.
But speaking of being like someone else.
Oh dear, yeah.
The next morning, Big Nueng pulls a Sam. And she is on the beach. I don't actually think she's on the beach. More as like it's more of a tree, woodsy area of the beach.
I think that like the property, it's oceanfront, because when you cut to like Little Nueng in the bedroom, like you hear the ocean and see it. You know what the Foley team is like at this show. So they're very close to the ocean. So I think she's on like this back patio area that has some greenery, but the ocean's right very close. It's like several yards away. It's not super far.
But it's not like Sam who was like literally on the beach.
Yes,
but yeah.
Sam was like in the water.
Close to the beach. We have to stare at water.
We need to sulk by bodies of water. That's what this family was taught to do, apparently.
Yes. But meanwhile, Little Nueng is waking up to an empty bed. And I feel like this is a very sucky situation for Little Nueng. The first of many. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's a sucky situation for mine as well. Because, like, I'm assuming that if you just had a great night with the person you love, you'd want to wake up next to them and not have them basically just abandon you.
Be sulking by the sea? No, this is not a great sign.
But yeah, here's another thing. If Mon and Little Nueng actually spoke to each other, Mon could have been like, all right, so if you wake up and she's not there and you're near an ocean, go check that first.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering that if Sam and Big Nueng ever actually slept through the night, or if they were trained to be like ninjas and have one eye open and like sleep in shifts.
Seriously, that's a really good point. I feel like insomnia runs in this family because like the two sisters don't seem to ever be able to sleep through the night.
I feel like there has to be a reason. There's some sort of trauma that happened at night.
It's definitely here it's trauma, relationship trauma, but like later it's song trauma. Like does Big Nueng sleep through the night? Like I don't even know. It's a good question. Sam didn't.
No. Are they worried about ghosts? It's too dark. They need a bunch of fairy lights. There was no fairy lights. How could they sleep?
True.
Okay. But then we go back to Little Nueng in the empty bed, and she reaches out for Big Nueng. And then she wakes up when she realizes that it's just cold and no one's there. Like, how sad is that?
It's so sad.
Finally, the person that you love kissed you back, and now they're nowhere to be found. Okay, so now not only is half this part what we already seen in the previous episode, but now we get Big Nueng having a flashback to what we just watched once again. And more specifically, she's thinking about Little Nueng's question to her, can you love me? And like, that's really weighing on Big Nueng. It's a big question, because can she love her? And I think Big Nueng is also asking herself that because the only love that she's felt in her life is towards her sisters. And not only is that the only people she's ever loved, she lost one of them. So, like, that loss of love has to be weighing on her as well. She's like, I let myself love someone. Granted, it's not the same love, but she knows what it's like to lose it as well.
Oh, damn. Honestly, that is an amazing point, because when we start getting into season 2, even you saw it here too a little bit, Big Nueng's biggest fear is Little Nueng disappearing. You saw what happened where she disappeared, like Big Nueng couldn't sleep, and like the minute she disappeared, she's like blowing up her phone immediately. Like she's desperately afraid of losing her. And you're right, Kaitlynn, I wonder if it comes back to the song trauma where like I had a deep feeling about somebody and I lost them forever. And it's like, what if she's constantly doing things where she's like, again, we're back to give a mouse a cookie, but here with her feelings, she's like, but if I go in too deep, like, I'm going to get really hurt when she leaves me. Because I still think Big Nueng doesn't feel worthy of love. Like, and so she's always wrestling with, like, do you love me? I kind of believe you, but, like, I feel like you're going to leave me. You're going to outgrow me. Like, she's really afraid of all that stuff because she's afraid she's going to get hurt.
As humans, I feel like we tend to try and relate our experiences to what we know. which is why whenever we go into a new show, we're always like, oh, this reminds me of this in Gap. And now we're going into other shows being like, oh, this is very blank reminiscent. So having, it's not very much similar at all, but Big Nueng having this like very small experience with love. It's not the same, but she's can only relate it to her very few experiences. So it's definitely terrifying for her to be like, it could be my sister who I'm on the outs with right now, or the sister who, well, they're not, yeah, we'll get there. Or my sister that is no longer here, and I no longer have this love.
Yeah.
And then exactly. The Grand Am is just another story.
That's another thing. She's about to go through that same thing in this episode. But with Little Nueng too, the other thing is like this, the feelings are different too. I think they're more intense and more powerful. So like her experience with loss, she's like, I'm even more afraid because this is even deeper than like what I had with my sister. Remember Little Nueng's deep love? She's like, this is gonna hurt me even more, and I think she's very afraid of that. And then there's that, and that's one element of what she's concerned about. And then there's this whole other mess of the other people, you know, that she's also concerned about. So this is a lot. It's a lot. This is quite the forbidden love trope. There's so many elements of things to be concerned about, or just to be like weighing on them. Murder board.
Yes, there is a lot going on. So Big Nueng is just staring at the ocean being like, what the hell am I gonna do? And then she says, model. And I'm not totally sure why she does this. I was like, is it because Little Nueng's family thinks that she's a role model for Little Nueng? And she's like, how can I be a role model? When basically, I don't think she's a role model for herself. I don't think she likes who she's become right now.
Yeah, no, that's a really good take too. I wonder if they inserted the wrong flashback in the editing, and like they meant to put a flashback of Pingfa being like, you're a role model for my daughter. Because, okay, so they basically, what she's doing by the sea, she's sulking by the sea because she's beating herself up over the kiss. Because the kiss that she 100% initiated, Little Nueng did not initiate it, she did that. Because I feel like in like the light of a new day, this moment reads more to herself like, I was being weak. Like you said, I think she's disappointed in herself for like being so weak and giving in to what she wants, because all the lead up to this trip that they're on is that she promised Little Nueng's grandmother and her mother to be a role model. And like here she is making moves on her in hotel rooms when they're all alone. So I think she feels really guilty and torn up about this because she has broken Little Nueng's family's trust in her. And they treat her like a member of their family. That is why she's on this trip. That's why we had the conversation with Pingfa where she's like, wow, I can't believe my mother let you take her on a trip. She won't even let me take her on a trip. This is so she's like, wow, I really, really fucked up. Like, I was the outsider being looked as an insider, and like, this was really bad what I just did. I put everything in jeopardy. Like, and I think part of her too is like, if I'm not there to help Little Nueng get through all this, she's going to go to America. So it's like, there's so many like outcomes that could be really bad based off this one decision she made because she wanted to and felt good in the moment, that kind of thing. So she's like, what the fuck kind of role model am I? Look at what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I think this is a self-loathing moment a little bit for her.
Yeah, because she's the type of person who has her guard up 24/7. She doesn't let people in. She doesn't want to let people in because, one, she doesn't want to get hurt, but she is thinking of like possible outcomes. So like, this is the first time where she wasn't thinking. And It's even worse now thinking about what could have happened, because she's like, well, if that just didn't happen, we could have just had the same relationship previously and things wouldn't change. And I think she's very not scared, but like hesitant with change.
Yeah, I get that too. She comes from a very conservative type household, and that's kind of like the hallmark, right? Resistant to change. So yeah, I wonder if all the changes are freaking her out too. That's a good read.
And there's a lot of changes going on, just
oh
in
my god, so
general.
many.
Once episode 4 happens, there's just too much change. Like,
Wait till this
relationships are
episode's over.
changing. Oh, gosh.
By the end of this episode, her entire world changes again in a huge way.
Yes.
So yeah, like,
and she's gonna be so lost, but we have like 40 more pages till we get there. Anyway, yeah. So little Nung goes off and tries to find Big Nung because, of course, like, she's like, where is the person I love? And she pouts a little that she has a hard time finding her. And Big Nung's response is that they should pack and go home. That is the last thing little Nung wants to do, by the way. She's like, this is where she finally kissed me. Let's stay here forever and ever.
Yeah, little Nung wants to stay in the fantasy, and Big Nung wants to go back to reality, where, like, she can't pretend. Like, it's very easy to pretend in this hotel room that it's just the two of them in this, which is little Nung's perspective, right? She's always like, why do you have to think about other people? Yeah, when you're isolated on this beach resort with literally just the two of you, it's very easy to get lost in that fantasy. But Big Nung's like, no, there's all these other, like, factors that we're blocking out mentally now. This is a bubble. And I think Big Nung is like, if I stay in the fantasy bubble with her even longer, she's going to be tempted to cross more lines because she selfishly wants to. So she's like, we need to get the fuck out of here. Like, no hi, no good morning. We need to leave right now before I do something stupid.
But like Big Nung, like, she needs to learn how to be in a relationship in general, because at least say good morning.
I know. Well, she's not used to waking up with other people anymore. She's like,
no, it's fair. We'll get there.
Yeah. But in this moment too, like, when Big Nung's like, we're gonna leave, she walks away. Little Nung looks real, like, dejected and stuff, because I think she knows Big Nung well enough to kind of sense her moods a little bit. Yeah, this is whiplashy what she goes through. Again, the girlfriends of these sisters go through it. I think she's starting to sense that Big Nung is pulling away. And so she's like, well, I gotta play all of my moves before we're out of here. So, which leads us to the next scene, which is wild, the scene.
Yeah, so before they leave, Big Nung picks up the Smut book on the bedside table. And then probably has a few more impure thoughts.
Oh, for sure. This is a woman lost in gay thoughts. Like, if you just look at her.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard not to, honestly. Anyway, she tells little Nung that she's going to give her the book back, but tells her that she needs to stop recording her reading it and then sending her strange stuff. Like, Big Nung, you know you want that. Let's be real.
She does. That's the problem. She's like, I have to get into... It's like the self-flagellation thing. She's like, I have to deny myself all the things that I want to get us back on track. And I think it's very clear from the messages that Little Nung was recording and sending her that it was, like, encouraging Big Nung to, like, give into her feelings a little bit. Because remember, we had a scene of her privately listening to that message from Little Nung, and she was, like, hanging on every word. Like, I think she was like, crap, these are encouraging me. And then she's picking really suggestive passages. And I wonder if Big Nung's like, maybe I'm confusing, like, loneliness with romance. Because, again, these feelings are all new. She hasn't labeled them fully. And she's like, maybe I need to start putting up walls and creating distance before this spirals out of control. And she's like, if she stops sending me sexy messages, maybe this will stop. You know, maybe we can stop this before it gets worse.
You can never stop it.
No, but you're so far into the give a mouse a cookie scenario. It's too late for you, Big Nung. It's too late. The mouse has all the pastries in the pastry shop at this point. It's over.
Someone needs to make a book of give a Nung a cookie.
When you give a Nung a cookie,
and
that's what
do
I
the illustrations and everything, and just make a children's book out of this. But, like, you know. Maybe not a children's book.
That should be our promo material. We should make it graphic. And if you give a Nung a cookie.
Well, damn it, Theora. Stop giving me more work, because you know I'm going to be thinking about that now. Anyway. So, little Nung, I feel like, senses that Big Nung is closing up. And it's... like, that's the last thing she wants. Because... she finally got her to open up slightly. And she's like, we cannot go backwards. Must keep going forward. More cookies, please.
Yes.
So I think Little Nueng is just trying anything to get Big Nueng to stay open. And she's like trying to get her to say what strange stuff not to send her out loud. But, Big Nueng isn't in the mood today. And then Little Nueng's like, Big Nueng, you're gonna miss the good parts of the book. And Big Nueng mistakenly says, I see nothing good in there. And this makes Little Nueng realize that Big Nueng read the book. And then, of course, she teases her for it.
As she should. This is hilarious.
And if Big Nueng wasn't bashful enough about this book already, this whole next exchange is hilarious. Little Nueng asks if she can ask her about the things she doesn't understand in the book. More specifically, the parts that Big Nueng forbids her to record.
Okay. What I love about this is that this is Little Nueng shooting her last shot, okay? And what she's doing is she's flirting with Big Nueng to try to be like, okay, you're telling me one thing, but then I use suggestive language and your body language is telling me something completely different. So she's like, we're alone in this hotel room. There's a bed right there. So what she's doing is she's trying to proposition Nueng for sex in this conversation. And it's so bold and hilarious. And Big Nueng picks up on it and it's hilarious. But I love when she brings up, quote, the strange things. And she's like, well, and then she's like, can I ask you about the strange things? And when Big Nueng says nothing, she's like, well, if I can't talk to you about, quote, strange things, I'm going to have to talk to my friends about it. And then Big Nueng panics. She's like, why would you talk to your friends about it? You have me. Like, again, she's like, don't talk about sex with other people. You just talk to me about it. And it's like, Nueng, like, girl, every time she tries to shut down this situation, she makes it worse. And, like, she inadvertently escalates it. So by saying, okay, Little Nueng, you could only ask me about sex, she's like, oh, okay. Then she runs with that, because you just gave her the cookie, Big Nueng.
Okay, so speaking of cookies, Little Nueng wants another cookie.
Yes.
Because once she gets Big Nueng to agree to that she can ask her about things in the book, Little Nueng takes it a step further and is like, well, what if I want to try something that I read? Can I come to you for that too?
And just, like, hydrate for lesbian Jesus, because, wow, the audacity of Little Nueng.
The audacity.
Her audacity. Again, she's propositioning Nueng for sex in this conversation, and Big Nueng was not ready for this. She was not ready for this. She was like, how did we get here?
But yeah, this is too much for Big Nueng.
It's so much.
And she basically says that's Little Nueng, then shuts down the conversation because it's overwhelming. And she gave away too many cookies. But the way she, like, holds it together enough to get Little Nueng out of the room, the minute Little Nueng is out of the room, she, like, falls apart behind the door. She's like, oh my god. She, like, falls on the door and is visibly gay panicking because she's like, that girl just propositioned me for sex. Like, holy fucking fuck. Like, what the fuck? Like, and, like, part of her wanted to be like, yes, because she did go read the novel. Because, like, okay, the other thing is, Little Nueng reads the novels to get tips. This is her Google. She's just like, what do women do? Like, that's why she's reading the books. I think Big Nueng was also like, what do women do? So I think they were both doing that. She's like, it's in my brain. We have an opportunity. We're alone in a hotel room. And then she's like, nope, must shut this down before I do something fucking stupid. Yeah. And so, like, I think that, like, it's becoming way, way harder for Big Nueng to be like, this is, I'm confused. It's loneliness. I'm not attracted to her, because she is. Like, this scene proves it. Yeah.
God damn it, Little Nueng. The way she just goes in with all the audacity of the word. Like, she learned seduction techniques from these novels. So, like, read books, children. This is how you get the girl. You read novels, learn how to do it, and then go out and get them. So, if Little Nueng taught you anything,
Little Nung's a quick study.
For subjects she's interested in. Math, not so much.
Fair.
Alright, so after that, we transition to part 2, where the Nungs arrive back at Little Nung's place. So, like, I love how cute this is, because they all have their bags. So, like, Big Nueng escorts Little Nung home before she goes home, which is, again, what a gentlewoman. And the two of them, when they're kind of, like, approaching the gates, they both kind of look a little dreamy, because they're coming out of the fantasy bubble of, like, being on the Isle of Lesbos together. Little Nung is still in the fantasy because she boldly, in front of her home, kisses Big Nung's cheek in broad daylight. And rightfully, Big Nueng is like, she freaks the fuck out. She's like, what are you doing? Oh my god, what are you doing? I'm supposed to be your role model and, like, not your girlfriend. And, like, she's like, these lines are getting way too blurry. And then 0.0003 seconds after this, Pinkfa shows up. And Big Nueng, I think part of her was like, oh fuck, did she see that? Oh my god, how could she not see that?
Pinkfoot doesn't see much.
No. She's not the brightest bulb.
No, like, and it's one thing if this happens at Big Nueng's place, like, you know, in front of that small trash can in front of the entrance. It's another if it's in front of the gate at the grandmother's house. Because of what Pinkfoot did. Because Pinkfoot coming out quickly.
But also, like, there's a big gap between, like, the door and the gate. So, like, Pinkfa had to be walking up facing that way for quite some time. So that's why I think Big Nueng's like, oh, fuck, did she see that? Because how could she not? She was looking forward towards us. Anyway.
Pinkfa's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Doesn't serve the purpose right now. She didn't see it.
No, but I think part of Big Nueng's motivation was like, oh crap, did she? And that's partially why she's like, Little Nueng, you should go inside. You're tired, right? Look at you. I mean, it was such a journey. And Little Nueng's like, wait, I'm not tired. She's like, no. Go inside. And then her mother's like, yeah, go inside, child. The adults need to talk about whatever. And despite Little Nueng's protests, the adults win. And Pinkfa basically takes Nueng into, like, I guess, like, just, like, the backyard or whatever. And they're kind of, like, chillin'. Pinkfa is concerned about something, which I mean, if you were Big Nueng in this scenario, I'd be like, she saw that kiss. Oh my god. Based on how this conversation goes. Because Pinkfa's basically expressing her concern that, like, I think my daughter might be getting a little too attached to you. She's like, even though you're a woman, if she's anything like me, I think this is a, oh my god, my daughter's like me moment where she's like, my mother would kill us both. She's like, I think she might be getting a little too attached to you because she's young. Her hormones are growing crazy. Look at you. I think she's going to get attracted to you and fall in love with you and then get her heart broken like I did.
You know what? Did Pinkfa actually see it and is just so deep in denial with her feelings towards Big Nueng that she's like, I saw nothing?
You know, it could be, because later, when it comes out, Pinkfa's pretty resistant to it, even though Big Nueng is like, no, we're dating. Like, so it's very possible she did see it and was like, we need to talk about something I may or may not have seen between the two of you.
It was a friendly kiss. It was on the cheek.
It was gal pals, because guess what gal pals do? Big Nueng doesn't even know what gal pals are, but Little Nueng totally would. She'd be like, it's gal pal behavior, Mom. You're just too old to understand. And who could dispute her on that? I'd be like, I guess she's right. Anyway, so they go in the backyard, and Big Nueng's like, listen, if you're worried about her getting into a good school, like, I'm the queen, remember? So she's gonna, you know, it's gonna work out. And Pinkfa's like, of course worried about that, because she's in a shitty situation. She's like, if my daughter succeeds, I lose. She's like, then she stays here, and I go home to America, and I don't get to, like, be with her. But, again, her big concern is, like, your relationship with my daughter, it looks a little suspicious to me. And of course, Big Nueng is like, love? What do you mean, love? Why would you bring that up? And Pink was like, I'm worried the apple didn't fall far from the tree when it comes to being attracted to you and falling in love with you. Because like, both
look at you.
Because look at you. It's encoded into Little Nueng's DNA. Like, she was always going to lose that. Like, both of her parents were into Big Nueng. Just look at you. It's just, I'm worried. I can see this writing on the wall here.
The world is into Big Nueng.
Right. And she's like, I'm not stupid, by the way, my daughter lights up when she's around you, okay? I think she's a little jealous over this, but she makes valid points because she's like, I'm just worried my daughter's young and she's, you know, gonna get attached to you. And that kind of stuff. And Big Nueng struggles with this for a minute because this is another decision point for her hearing this, where she's weighing the selfish decision, which is refusing this and keeping little Nueng close to her because that makes her happy, and the selfless decision, which is to accept the reality of their situation and like let little Nueng go and go live her life before she hurts her like she's hurt everybody else in her life. In Nueng's brain, I think she thinks that about relationships with people. She keeps hurting people and she's like, I care about her and I don't want to hurt her, and so I would rather I get hurt than she get hurt. That's kind of like what she's grappling with. What's cute in this conversation too is that Big Nueng does acknowledge that she broke Pingfa's heart. She's like, I have an example from you. I already know. I know where this could go because look at us, right? And I wonder if this also, like the Pingfa stuff, has been on Big Nueng's mind recently. And another reason she's trying to maybe halt things with little Nueng. She's like, I've seen this film before. I was the villain in that one too. But ultimately, Big Nueng chooses the selfish option in this moment where she's like, it's not going to happen. You have my word or whatever. Pingfa's relieved by this because she knows her daughter loves Big Nueng because Big Nueng.
Big Nueng has not pinky promised this though, so no, it's not binding.
No, Pingfa's not a lawyer, obviously, because yeah, exactly. But she's like, listen, I know my daughter's into you, but like, what about you? Do you love her? And she asks it like that. And in this, and again, this is that context where the word just means like affection, not necessarily romantic love. But the panic that ripples across Big Nueng's face, to me, shows that she's processing this question as in, like, are you in love with her? She's processing it that way versus being like, do you care about her? Because she's got to get out of her denial about this and, like, come to terms with whatever these feelings are that she's having, right? And she does sit with this question for quite some time. And I think that for her to even admit that she cares about little Nueng in a platonic capacity is still a big deal for somebody like Big Nueng, who's, again, never felt anything for anyone. Like, you know, she's never really had any kind of, like, emotional attachment to people aside from, like, her sisters. And that's kind of it.
Because admitting your feelings is weakness for this family.
Yeah. It's also, like, Alcoholics Anonymous, admitting it's the first step. Like, that's kind of like, dude, she's gone through all those things, like denial, bargaining, the cookie stuff. Like, admitting it is the big, admitting it's the big thing, right? And I think it's a lot. The feelings are overwhelming. She doesn't know what it means. And she's she's either trying to process it or she's just trying to avoid processing it. And so when Pingfa asks her the question, she easily could just be like, no, shut up, Pingfa. But she does sit with it. So I think it's getting harder for her to just sit in denial about it. And she kind of can't ignore this anymore. So I think internally in this moment when she's asked the question, she does truthfully acknowledge that she does care a lot, like an extraordinary amount about this young woman. And it's undeniable, but like, how much does she love little Nueng? And like, what does it mean? You know, I don't think she knows. And I don't think she's at this point ready to answer any more of those questions. Like, she's starting to acknowledge it, but not really say, what does it mean? What could this be? Like, she's just trying to be like, bad, must stop. So big step towards like acknowledgement and processing in this conversation, which is good. But her response to Pingfa is really interesting. So instead of like being like, yes, I care about her, she says, love is better than hate, which is 100% a callback to the hilarious exchange in 104 when Big Nueng slipped up and admitted to little Nueng she cared about her, because little Nueng was like, you're mad at me. And she's like, I'm not mad at you. She's like, well, you must hate me. She's like, I don't hate you. She's like, well, if you don't hate me, you love me. And she's like, yes. So like, she's using little Nueng's language back to her mother, which is adorable. But Pingfa is like, whew. She's like, well, I'm glad you don't hate her anymore. I know you've been real guilty about the whole miscarriage / role you could have played in that lie thing. But she's like, you have a kind heart at the end of the day. And it's so true. Like, Big Nueng does have a big heart. When she cares about people, she, like, really cares about them. Like, Sam's like that, too. And I think it's easy to overlook how thoughtful she is and how much she does care about people because that mask of indifference that she's always wearing and is trying so hard to be, like, neutral and stoic and emotionless. Like you said, Kaitlynn, to can't be weak and have emotions. She's like a Roman male or whatever. Because, like, being rational all the time is what was, like, prized, right?
Yeah, but like once you let someone in, like Sam and Big Nueng, they would do anything for each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sam gives her money because she's like, I'm not gonna let my big sister be stranded. I love her. And little Nueng, even though she plays it off and tries to distance herself a little more, it's only because Sam is still close with the grandmam, and she's like, I can't let my guard down around her. So it's a little harder for her with Sam, but when Sam's on her by herself, she's like, she gives herself fully to Sam and like is there for her as well. So I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
Basically, Big Nueng has a big heart and shows it in certain moments, mostly through her actions. Like, again, like, Big Nueng has done multiple things in the show where she set up scenarios where she could, like, defend little Nueng, or she'll do things behind little Nueng's back where she's defending her or, like, sticking up for her and making sure she's okay. And Pingfa is like, hey, like, I see all that. I know you care. And I know that you felt guilty for a while about, you know, little Nueng almost not being born. And I think part of Pingfa is coming to terms with the fact that Nueng was looking out for her also, like, way back when they were 16. And, you know, Big Nueng is trying to make amends for all these things she feels very guilty about, where she made, quote, selfish decisions that harmed other people. And so Pingfa's like, ultimately, I'm glad that you met my daughter and that you seem to care about her and she cares about you and you're looking out for her when I can't be here. Because I think at the end of the day, she trusts Nueng, I think, more than her mother. And so she's like, I'm glad you're here because I feel like I have somebody on my side who listens to me, who's truthful with me about my daughter. And, you know, I'm glad you're here.
In this situation, everybody trusts Big Nueng more than anybody else. Because
Right.
Chet trusts her more than... Because, like, he knows her the best. The grandmother trusts Big Nueng more than anyone else because, like, her daughter's a disgrace and Chet's just the guy who messed up her daughter's life.
Literally.
So everyone... Big Nueng is on a pedestal for everybody right now. So she basically has all these expectations the same way she had in her past life when she was under the grandmam's control. So now she's back to having all these expectations on her, and she's like, shit, I'm screwing it all up again.
No, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what's going on here. That's exactly what's going on here. And so, one thing that Nueng does admit is that she says she adores little Nueng. So she does say, like, instead of using love, the generic term, she does narrow it and gets real specific and is like, I do adore her. So, which is... in and of itself is an admittance. So that also is a big step. So the fact that she processed Pingfa's original question, admitted it to herself, and then admitted out loud that, like, yeah, I do care about her in whatever capacity, I think is a big deal. And I think because Big Nueng, that adoring is starting to transition into something more, I think she does leave this conversation with Pingfa feeling guilty. Because, like you said, Kaitlynn, she's on a pedestal, and here she is. Remember, beginning of 104, what was the Pingfa relationship like? Pingfa was like, fuck you, Nueng, I spent 20 years trying to get revenge on you. And here we are, a couple episodes later, with her being like, I trust you more than anybody else. So I think Big Nueng is glad she, like, earned her friend's trust back, but she's like, I was behind your back kissing your daughter. So, like, she's breaking all of these, like, bridges that she spent such a hard, like, she was putting all this effort into building, and she's like, I think she's just like, we're fucked. I'm fucked. I'm a terrible person. I feel like she's just beating herself up about all of this stuff.
And she's not. It's just a situation that everybody else is putting her in.
Yeah. But also, like, she is hiding something really huge from Little Nueng's mother. She's like, I just kissed her. So maybe you shouldn't be trusting me.
I mean, technically it'd be outing the little Nueng right now, so she's not
also that too. Little Nueng outs herself later, which is hilarious. The woman has no shame. She's amazing.
Spoiler alert. Because no one's watched this. No. That's listening.
Well, back at the flat, later that night, Big Nueng is checking her phone. For some reason, it's on. She's as bad as my partner, who like leaves her phone in random places. I'm like, shouldn't it be next to you? You're about to go to sleep. Anyway, so she's checking her phone before bed. And Little Nueng sends her a few texts and a voice recording. And it's clear that, like, Big Nueng wants to, like, listen / respond. But I think she's like, no, I really need to honor my promise to Pingfa and, like, be your role model and, like, not give you more cookies. So she just leaves Little Nueng unread because...
What kind of cookies?
I don't know. I never see them eating cookies. She's gonna make her a 7-course meal next. That's where we're at with this. We've escalated.
Oh my gosh.
Then we shoot over to the next day, maybe. I have no idea how time works in this show. But Big Nueng is... I don't know. Big Nueng's outside and Sam's there. Okay? Outside her apartment. Sam's by her car. And Sam's like, listen, I'm here to take you to see the Grandmam. And Nueng is like, Sam, I love you, but I'm really tired of telling you I'm not going back to the palace until after the Grandmam is 6 feet under. And
we've had this conversation multiple times. Like, this is Sam's plot point at this point in this show. Like, every single time we see Sam, no, it's going to be her being like, talk to the Grandmam.
Or tell me about your love life. Sam is there to give Nueng somebody to talk to. Because Nueng doesn't have friends. All right, so...
Which is a travesty. Like, Jim should be there.
Jim should absolutely... Jim should be Nueng's confidant. I agree. All right, but Sam understands what, Big Nueng's position on the Grandmam, but she's like, listen, the circumstances have completely changed. She's like, the Grandmam is sick. She's on her deathbed. And, like, I want you to have the opportunity to make peace with her before it's way too late. And she basically asks her, is your pride more important than your family? She basically asks her. And, like, I get Sam's sentiment here. I really do. Sam is stuck in the middle of all this family drama, and she's trying her best to be the peacemaker. But the Grandmam could also adopt this mentality of putting her pride aside to reconcile her family, be the adult in the situation, if she really wanted to make amends with Nueng. But she never does. And it's clear that the Grandmam cares about Nueng. But every time they are in a room together, the Grandmam slips right back into their old dynamic, which is like, I'm the dictator, you're my subject, do what I want. Fuck your feelings, Nueng. And Nueng escaped that tyranny and really doesn't want to go back into it, no matter how much she loves her family. And personally, it's okay to escape toxic love for your own well-being. It's just a really shitty that the consequences of this choice that Nueng ends up making in this scenario, like, weighs on her really heavily, like, for such a long time. Like, the situation is fucked, essentially. But here comes Sam, and Sam is begging Nueng to go to the palace. And being the caring person that she is, Big Nueng can't deny her little sister what she wants. Like, she can see, like, Sam is begging. And she's like, okay, Sam, I'll do it again for you because I love you. So she goes go back to the palace for Sam, not for herself. I want to make that distinction because this is a selfless action that Big Nueng takes for the sake of her sister. And again, there's growth there. And because she's like, the only person that get hurt here is me. So whatever. Low stakes, I guess. So then we transition from Nueng's apartment back to the palace. And they're kind of sitting in like the foyer or whatever. It's the Grandmam, Sam, and Big Nueng. And at the palace, Big Nueng slips immediately, again, back into the old dynamics with the Grandmam. Because she starts fighting with her. Because she expects that same combative attitude back towards her. She's like, you're going to yell at me and stuff. I'm going to attack you first, basically.
And the Grandmam's like, her walls up to protect herself in general. But, like, when everybody's doing that, nothing's ever going to change.
Right. No, exactly. Nobody ever takes their walls down. And the Grandmam's like, you're really going to fight with me? And, like, Big Nueng's like, I'm here with you. I have to fight you. What else are we going to do? That is our dynamic now because you won't talk to me about your feelings over song and everything. But what's different in this scenario is that the Grandmam seems tired. And she doesn't, like, engage in these games with Big Nueng. And she's like, can we just, like, have a meal together? Like, I don't want to fight you. I'm not going to fight you. I just want to spend time with you without fighting. And she's trying to like do this to reconnect with Big Nueng, because we'll see in some flashbacks, and as we already know about Big Nueng, food is her love language, and so she's doing this as a peace offering. Again, it's not giving Nueng what she actually needs from her, but she's like, here's the olive branch to get things going, I think is what the Grandmam thinks she's doing in her mind. And probably Sam was like, listen, just offer her food, it works every time.
She's like, just trust me.
She's here. She came, didn't she? I said food, here she is. So when Big Nueng refuses, the Grandmam quickly concedes, and she's like, all right, Sam, you know what? She doesn't want to have a meal with me. That's fine. Just take me back to bed. And so Sam grabs the Grandmam and like is like basically lifting her to get her on her feet. And Big Nueng watches this, and that's when she realizes just how fragile the Grandmam is now. And she says, you look older. And to me, I've said this before, but I think this is actually a very shocking moment for Nueng, because Sam kept saying, she's like, hey, she's getting worse, she's really sick, this and that. And Big Nueng's like, yeah, whatever, that bitch isn't going nowhere. She's a cat with 9 lives, where's she going? And I think part of that is because the Grandmam has always been this big, formidable figure in her life, and witnessing this deterioration from this person she almost sees as godlike in a way. I think this is the big reality check for Big Nueng, that the Grandmam's mortal. Like us all, like, oh shit, this is real. And I think with this realization, I think Nueng freaks out, and that's why she tries even harder to get the grandmother to fight with her, because she's scared. And so she starts bringing up all the trauma that she wants to hash out, which is her life, the loss of song. But again, she is denied consistently by her grandmother to talk about this thing. And Sam steps in as peacemaker, tries to diffuse the situation, insisting like, hey, we're all together. Like, can we just have a nice family meal together? Auntie Nim made all your favorites. And Big Nueng's like, no. She's like, why is it always on me to come back into the situation? I say what I need, and I'm constantly denied of it, and we're getting nowhere. She's like, I want the apology, and I'm not getting it. And she's like, I'm leaving. If you're not going to give me the conversation where we actually talk about our feelings and move past this instead of just ignoring it, I'm not going to sit here and do this. I don't care. And they're like, did you not eat today, Nueng? They ask her this, and she's like, no, I didn't eat, but I'm not eating with the two of you. Fuck you both. So, like, on the surface, this scene, it does look like Big Nueng is choosing pride over family, but, like, so is the grandmother. The grandmother's doing the same thing. And nobody is like, come on, you don't see Sam going like, come on, grandmother, like, talk to her. No, it's just like, they put it on Nueng to like solve this. And she's like, there's 2 people in this scenario. Why is it always on me? It's just really sad. Like, and I feel so bad for Big Nueng, because she's like, maybe this time she's dying. Maybe this time she'll want to like make up with me. Maybe this time it'll be different. And it's never different. And it just doesn't play out the way she wants it to. And it's very sad for Big Nueng. And the sadness of it all is that like basically the Grandmam really, at the end of the day, groomed Big Nueng to be just like her. Like, she was always like, you're my perfect granddaughter. You're the spitting image of me. You're going to carry on my legacy. That's how she looked at her. And so truly, though, you shouldn't be surprised with how this played out, because you two are acting the exact same in this scenario. Big Nueng is being just as prideful and just as stubborn as you. And so you can't be surprised at this. Like, that is literally who you raised her to be. And here she is, like...
Yeah, I don't really know what the Grandmam was expecting, because, I mean, it was very big of Big Nueng to even give a little bit. Like, she could have just been like, I'm leaving, I'm not even going to go into it. But she did, like, she's like, let's talk about this. This is what we need to do to even try to have a relationship. And honestly, at this point, I'm surprised. Like, expecting everything that happened in Gap to have already happened. I'm surprised Sam doesn't try to help Big Nueng in the way of, like, pushing the Grandmam a little bit to give. Because I feel like the Grandmam at this point would be more willing to listen to Sam.
I agree.
She's the one who's always there with her now. Like, Sam's the favorite at this point because she's the one who's willing to do what the Grand Mam asks. So, I mean, Sam's trying a lot, but I think she needed to put some more effort into forcing the Grand Mam to do stuff as well.
I agree. She could have whispered in her ear and be like, well, if you just talk to her, that sometimes food alone doesn't work.
Yeah, and at the end, the Grand Mam gives Sam a look that says, thank you for trying to help. Really, I feel like it's gotten to the point where Sam's like, the Grand Mam's not going to live much longer, so she's just trying to give her everything and all of herself. And I'm just like, I just want things to be happy. She wants her family back together. Just like, if we can ignore it, it's not going to last that long anyway. Honestly, the part 4 was unexpected. From like this, like looking at her, she doesn't look sick. To me, at least. But anyway.
I mean, they didn't give her makeup and shit to make her look like she's dying or a cough or whatever, but like she can't even get up unassisted anymore. That's not a good sign. And what I think is really happening here? It's that thing. I don't know if this is true in Thai cultures. If you know, please let me know how this works with like what happens when people pass away. But in Western cultures, this really weird amnesia thing happens where people are like, they could have been monsters. Look at Ronald Reagan. And then they die and they're like, well, you can't say bad things about them. They're dead. It's like,
I hate it.
They were assholes in real life. What do you mean?
I'm pretty sure we had this conversation before, but I just had this conversation with my mother like yesterday. I hate this, and it invokes, as you can see, such a big reaction from me because, okay, so basically, speaking of this, is kind of a similar relationship I had to my grandmother. At times I was the favorite, but it was just like you had to do whatever she wanted, like cater to her to be the favorite. And I hate that everybody was okay, sorry. I don't want to turn this into therapy, but like I didn't cry once when my grandmother died. Everyone else was like bawling tears. I'm like, you guys literally said the worst things about her. I hate it. Like someone is not a saint because they die, and I don't understand where "Don't speak ill of the dead" came from. Because what's the point? Like, now they're a saint. I don't understand what death has to do with wiping away the sins.
Yeah, and it's almost like we're starting to like. It almost like it reads in these scenes that it's happening early with the Grand Mam. It's like Sam is very much on the train of like she's dying, so we have to just be positive and like all this stuff. And I think to your point, Kaitlynn, she's like, I want to make her last few days good for her, for the Grand Mam. But no one's like, she's still the bitch that drove me out of the palace. I don't care how sick she is. Like, she's still that person. Like, you can't separate the two. And she owes me an apology. Like, you really want me to come in there and pretend she was always good? Yeah, they had good moments, sure. Yeah, she loves her grandmother, sure. But she's like, I will never get past... Like, she denies Nueng peace by not having this conversation with Nueng. Now Nueng will always live with this guilt and this, like, thing she was denied from her grandmother. Like, the grandmother did this and then does not try to help Nueng fix it. It's also so fucked up.
We've seen that the Grand Mam will use things like health issues to win arguments or, like, get her way. And that's also
manipulative.
Thing, I feel
it's manipulative.
So, saying that she's dying, it's not going to invoke a response with Big Nueng. She's like, okay, this is the same thing that I grew up with. Like,
right.
I'll believe it when I see it. And that's basically why she's like, I'll step foot in the palace when she's dead. That's never going to happen, so I'm never coming back.
Right.
You just can you tell me
but
nerve.
That's what I think is happening. It's just weird. So yeah, if that happens in Thailand, let us know. The whole they're a saint when they die and they never did anything wrong. Which I don't understand it. I'm with you, Kaitlynn. I think that's
curious
what's happening
if that's like an American thing.
I don't know if that's a Western cultural thing. They do that in Europe too. It's not just Americans, but a Western thing.
I only know America. I can't speak for everybody else.
All right. Speaking of others, meanwhile, Chet enrolls Little Nueng into Cram school, insisting that Big Nueng's scholarly knowledge is almost 2 decades old, and he's not taking any chances with Pingfa's deal on the line. What shade to Big Nueng? He's like, I read your notes. They're old. What are you doing? You can't be tutoring my daughter. What if she leaves? Then I get screwed over. Absolutely not, Big Nueng.
But honestly, education does change. Like,
this was valid.
Like I've seen how they teach math now, and I'm just like, there's such a simpler way to do this.
This was a valid point, though, and he's like, you were in school how long? Like 20 years ago, Big Nueng. Like, the lessons change, the material changes. So honestly, this was valid. The way he goes about this by not telling anybody and just doing it for Little Nueng was fucked up, and she calls him out on that. And she's like, you didn't even tell Little Nueng you were doing this. You just enrolled her in this school. And I think Big Nueng basically threatens him, and I think this is really funny, where she's like, I will keep tutoring her privately if Little Nueng doesn't like this. So in this moment, she does, again, stick up for Little Nueng. She's like, you gave her no say in this, but I'm telling you, if she hates it, I'll pull her out of the school myself. Which, valid point, but also I think what Big Nueng's more upset about is the fact that if Little Nueng's in Cram school, their little private studying sessions are now getting cut short, and so she has less time with Little Nueng. So I think that's her other motivation, where she's like, well, fuck, I can't hang around this Cram school. That'd be weird, right? She does it anyway.
Yeah, we get the solution to that situation later. She makes the best of it. Yeah, and then Chet being Chet is like, well, we need to use food because he's learned with Big Nueng, as everyone does, food equals they will talk to you. So
wait, hold on, wait. You know what the other people are trying to do with Nueng? They're trying to play if you give a mouse a cookie, but she's always like, I don't want the fucking cookie. And then, like, it doesn't work. Like, there is no second step with Nueng. She either says, fuck you and your cookies, or she eats the cookie, and then she's like, I don't want it, bye. And she just leaves. And they're like, no, we're supposed to keep going. She's like, absolutely not. I only play this game with one person.
Was enough.
She's like, I'm good. I'll see you later when I'm hungry. It doesn't work.
Okay, so Chet asks Little Nueng if she wants to have a special meal. First of all, what special meal could, like, and if Chet's saying that, run the other way.
I don't know.
But my favorite part of this scene is Big Nueng invites Folk. So she asks Folk if he wants to join as well. And first of all, Chet's definitely like, well, what the hell? Don't invite him. I needed to just...
He invites him first, and Folk doesn't say anything. And then Big Nueng is like... She translates. She's like, Folk, do you want to come with us?
Okay. But Folk's reaction looks like, hell no, I'm not doing that again. Bye. And then he just takes off so quickly.
So funny. He's like, nah. You're on your own, Little Nueng. See ya. What a ride or die he is.
You're on your own, kid.
Always have been. Oh, that's a sad Little Nueng song. Thank you.
Oh, no. If we think about that too much.
No, it's Little Nueng. That makes me sad.
Yeah,
okay. Someone owes her a friendship bracelet. Anyway. All right. So,
oh my gosh, no. Don't call me kid. Don't call me baby at the end of this episode.
Oh, yes. No.
Okay. We'll get into it later.
That's also a Mon and Sam song.
I think we brought that up.
I definitely brought that up. It's a very... Look at this idiotic fool you made me. That's a Mon and Sam song. But you know what? There's a lot of songs I have at the end of this. We'll get there.
Okay.
But first we have to get past Chet. So Chet takes the Nuengs out for, quote, a special meal. I can't listen. What the hell that means. Where he's trying to corral Little Nueng into taking a DNA test. And, like, what the fuck, Chet? The way he goes about this was so weird. He's like, are you enjoying your food? Can I have your glass for science? And she's like, no. What the fuck, man? This is so weird. He's so awkward.
But, like, it was so weird. He only said, I don't know if it's a translation thing, But he only asked, "Can I take the glass that you just drank from?"
Yeah, I know.
And little Nueng basically read his mind, was like, "Oh, he's trying to test my DNA." No.
Yeah, no, she puts it together. She's like, no. Okay, so, and the Big Nueng looks at him with disgust because, once again, he's got that really gross paternalistic attitude where he makes big decisions without warning or consulting his own daughter, whom he met 2 weeks ago. Okay?
But also, everyone in her life does this, and it's just not fair to.
He's the most shameless about it, though. Like, he's like, I enrolled her in a cram school. I'm taking your. I'm surprised he didn't be like, that's mine now. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just like do it secretly after the meal.
Right, when they leave, he probably just like took the glass. Also, like, this is not how DNA tests work. Like, I understand.
No, I was like wondering. I was like, how does?
That's not how this works.
There's sometimes like in media where I'm like, I don't think that that's enough DNA. Like, someone takes the hair. I'm like, there needs to be a follicle on the end. I don't get it.
This is not how DNA tests actually work.
Is this like rich DNA test? Rich people DNA test? Like they have some random technology?
No, this is like Criminal Minds DNA, when you're like, you have to get DNA off of stuff to solve crimes. But if you were actually doing a DNA test for this reason, they just do a cheek swab to make sure they get enough DNA. Like, anyway, because you could have DNA from like the service worker that touched the glass on this. This is not how actual DNA tests in this context actually work. It would cost more money and be less of an accurate test. This was stupid. This was something
it would not hold up in court.
Well, there's methods they use to like, yeah, anyway. This is not how it would work in real life if you're trying to prove somebody's your child. So, this was dumb. But anyway, Little Nueng is like, I don't know what the hell this is, but I'm over it. I don't want it. I don't know you. I don't want anything from you. And then she politely pieces the fuck out. She's like, goodbye, I don't want this. Good to see ya. So that leaves Big Nueng and Chet alone. And once they're alone, Big Nueng calls Chet out for going off script and approaching this DNA topic in the weirdest way possible. And he claims he's like, look, I have good intentions here. I just want to make everything legal, so Little Nueng can legally be my heir. Because in his mind, I think this is a way to make amends for abandoning his daughter when he was a teenager, because that was a fucked up thing to do. But, again, elephant in the room. Does Little Nueng want any of this? And the answer is no. She doesn't want any of this. She already comes from a well-off family. She's like, I don't need you or want you.
I have an issue with this, though.
Okay?
Because in the beginning, this is exactly what Chet does. And then all of a sudden, he's like, I don't need a DNA test. I know she's mine. And now we're back to the same place again. So, like, what the hell, Chet? You could have done this in the very beginning. Maybe she would have been more willing, just being like, fine, I'll do. I feel like Little Nueng is slowly becoming more vocal of what she wants now.
Yes, agreed.
And spending more time with Big Nueng, which
yes,
I'm sure is making the rest of her family so happy. But seriously, I don't understand what's the roller coaster with this dude?
I think in the beginning he's like, is she mine? I want the DNA test to know if she's mine. And then he gets to the point where he's like, no, she's my daughter. I'm not saying she's not. And here he's like, he doesn't say, and then Big Nueng does say this. She's like, don't, you call her daughter. What do you mean you want the DNA test? And he says that I just want to make everything right. He's like, if we can legally prove that, then if I die, she legally gets everything and it's not going to cause problems later. Because, spoiler, this is the plot of another show that's coming out soon, where, like, if he dies, then there's going to be contesting of family members who are legally related to him be like, well, I'm legally his cousin. How do you know you're actually his daughter? There's no proof you're his daughter. Like, that's what he's worried about. He's like, I just want to square everything away legally so that she gets everything that's rightfully hers. That's what he is saying. He's not saying she's not my daughter.
What are you talking about?
Reverse for you. This is a plot in reverse for you. It has to do with this stuff. So he's like, I'm trying to avoid fighting later in my will and just make this settle now, kind of thing.
Which, honestly, I appreciate the fact that he doesn't want to have her go through the fight, because I don't know, like that seems like horrible. First of all, having to deal with that Like, she barely even knew the dude. I mean, she hasn't won anything, but just having to, like, fight, like, even having that legal battle in general, it's nice to know that he doesn't want to put that on her.
Right. So he means well in this situation, and that's what I'm saying. I think this is his way of making amends. But once again, he goes about it the wrong way by like not involving anybody in his decision. He just he's paternalistic. He makes decisions for people, not with people. And so that's what Big Nueng is calling him out on. And she's like, "Listen, me, the little Nueng whisperer, I can try to go talk to her and see if she'll understand this. I don't know if she will, or I don't know if that will actually change her mind, but like I'll try and reason with her and see what she says." And he's like, "Fine." So Big Nueng tracks down Little Nueng and is like, again, does not bring up anything that happened with Chet. She's like, "Why did you leave me alone with him?" And Little Nueng very smugly admits, she's like, "I knew you would follow me out of that restaurant. And like, here you are. So I win."
She's like, "I didn't want to be there anymore. And I knew the only way we could both get out of this is if I was the one who left. And then we could just go do something together." So
she's like, you're welcome. Then Little Nueng changes the topic away from Chet. We never go back to Chet. So does Big Nueng have this conversation she promised Chet? Probably not. They start talking about tutoring. And she asks if Big Nueng is planning on sending her a voice recording today. Which I thought was interesting because we don't see Big Nueng sending voice recordings on screen. But what this line implies is that they are still exchanging voice recordings. We're just doing tutoring-themed ones now. But still,
Little Nueng's not allowed to read the book, but we can talk about school. And I feel like Little Nueng was like, "Okay, I will study, but you have to give me the cookie of your voice."
Right. And to me, this is just proof that Big Nueng cannot hold out when it comes to Little Nueng. Like, she caves immediately. She was like, "No more voice recordings." And then Little Nueng's like, "What if it's for school? Because if I don't do well, I go to America." And then she's like, "Fine, you can have as many voice recordings as you want." Like, immediately, she loses every single time. So today, she's like, "Instead of a voice recording, I'm going to do you one better. Let's go to tutoring school together." And I think Big Nueng thinks this is some brilliant solution because she's like, "I can keep an eye on Little Nueng's schoolwork and spend time with her in a public place, which should limit Little Nueng's mischievousness."
Never underestimate Little Nueng.
Every time, Big Nueng, you're just
Little Nueng will do anything for a cookie.
Anything.
Anything can happen. Anyway, on to part 3. Big Nueng is helping Little Nueng study. Would you like to explain what's going on?
So they do, when they get to the Cram school, they do this really cute thing where Big Nueng is looking for books. Because Big Nueng is the student that like pays attention in class and Little Nueng's the one that copies off her. I'm pretty sure that's their energy. And Big Nueng's like, "No, we're here to study for real." So she's looking for books. And then they do that cute thing where Big Nueng like pulls the books off at the shelf and then Little Nueng pops up between the shelves, like try to flirt with her. Which is really cute. And I like the way they shot this and stuff.
Little Nueng is almost short enough that she does not make it over the shelf.
I know.
Like, it's very cute. Her head's just popping out.
My favorite part is when they get around the bookcase and Little Nueng like pops out at the corner trying to look all cute and stuff, and then Big Nueng hands her a giant pile of books, and her face, she just like is like, "Oh man," and like pouts. And Big Nueng walks away. It's so funny.
The Big Nueng's like, "We're here for a reason.
For studying." And Little Nueng's like, "Oh man."
Big Nueng's like, "If I can give her enough books, I don't have to worry about her hands being free and trying to grab cookies."
Okay, but then Big Nueng once again sets them up for failure because she picks the tiniest table in the library. Okay, if you look around them, there are other like rows where it's like a more spread out desk to chair situation, but Big Nueng's like, "No, that tiny one, that'll be fine." So like when they're studying, Little Nueng is forced to sit like practically in her lap while they're studying because the table's so small. So like Big Nueng, well,
it's the same thing as when she invited folks to the birthday. Like, yes, I'm going to separate us, but just enough that I know nothing's not going to happen. Like, she's always going to come back to me.
She's such a whole lie. She just sets herself up for failure, and then she's like, how could that not have worked? Yeah, it's that one situation where it's like, I'll give you folk so that you can have romance with somebody. Oh, it didn't work out with a man? You're not interested in men? Who could have thought? Like, I guess you just have to keep courting me. Like, that's what she's doing. It's just hilarious. That she lies to herself, and she's like, no, this isn't intimate at all, and then she sets up the scenario to be super intimate, and it's like, you did this, Big Nueng, so you can't be mad with what happens. She likes it secretly is the problem.
But like 5 seconds in the studying, apparently Little Nueng gets very tired, which honestly I relate to. There's times where like I open the book and like, this seems like too much, I'm gonna take a nap instead. But Little Nueng, being the cute dramatic brat that she is, pretends to fall asleep on Big Nueng's shoulder. But Big Nueng doesn't know this, because apparently Big Nueng actually thinks she fell asleep, because that's plausible that she fell asleep immediately going on her shoulder. It's not like she fell asleep and like slowly went down. No, it was like immediate shoulder.
Which, okay, is plausible if you've never been around her when she's fallen asleep before. But you have been, and you know she doesn't fall asleep that fast.
And then Big Nueng's way to wake her up is just like,
Psst. Psst.
Yeah. So she doesn't very try hard to wake her up.
No.
And then she nuzzles her own head against Little Nueng. And then tells her that she loves her. Like, okay, Big Nueng, we see you tried so hard to stay away from her. And then, of course, Little Nueng did not get to hear this love confession because she's asleep, right? Oh, wait, she isn't. And then you see the little smile while she is still pretending to be asleep. And it's actually cute because, like, if you notice, both Nuengs are smiling at the same time. And it's very subtle. Because I didn't notice it at first. And then when I was rewatching, I was like, oh my gosh, Big Nueng has a little smile too.
At the same time, I wonder if they coordinated that, because it's like literally the same time. It's so cute.
I forgot that I put this next point.
This was a wild comment, Kaitlynn. I must say, what the hell was this?
Okay, so I've been doing a job where I have to work overnight taking care of a kid. Anyway, so I'm like half asleep, and this is where my brain went. So very quick, random side note. Very random. It may seem weird that the Nuengs basically have the same name, but let's remember that Taylor Lautner did date Taylor Swift, and Taylor Lautner then went on to marry another Taylor, and now they are both Taylor Lautner. So.
And I was trying to put my notes in Kaitlynn's section and read this and said, this was so random, I choked on my drink while reading this.
I kind of wish I could see Theora's reaction, because it's really random. I mean, it makes sense. I think I was just thinking to their names again, because I wrote both Nuengs, and then I was like, well, it's not that weird that their names are the same.
I think you're also like where everybody else is in the brains in the fandom went. You're like, they're gonna get married, and then you're like, wait a minute, who takes what last name? And oh my god, they're gonna have the same name. And is that weird? It's not that weird. It happened in real life.
Because, I mean, we see Chet say Nueng earlier in this episode as well. Like, her name is Nueng. So, yes. Like, when other people in comments are saying Nueng, I'm just like, okay, Little Nueng or Big Nueng? Like, I understand that you're probably talking about Big Nueng, but, like, Little Nueng's name is Nueng as well.
Her nickname is Nueng. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her name is Nueng, but... Yeah, I'm like...
No, but the mom made sure her nickname was Nueng.
She sure did. Go back to episode 104 if you forget why.
If you forget why, yeah, go to our discussion where you can see. I did forget to talk about Big Nueng almost making Little Nueng not alive, but you know, that was a missed opportunity. Anyway, so then we get to a scene where Little Nueng is waiting to see if she passed her university entrance exams. And the entire family, including Big Nueng, are there as well to see. So Little Nueng is very, very nervous right now. She's like, this is basically deciding her future. And she's like, do I get to stay with Big Nueng or not? That's really what's going on. She doesn't care about getting into university. No, she's like, do I get to stay with the love of my life? Or do I have to go with my mother?
Oh, I don't know.
Yes, the stranger.
Who tries to change with me in public changing rooms. Like, what a fate that would have been.
Oh my gosh, no, that seems awful. Anyway, Big Nueng tells Little Nueng not to bite her nails. But Little Nueng's like, she's nervous about passing, which is very understandable.
And I thought this detail was really cute. Little Nueng chewing on her thumb, basically, when she's nervous, because these two share a brain cell, because later when Big Nueng is worried about something, she does the same thing, and Sam's the one who's like, Nueng, don't chew your nails. What are you doing? So they share a brain cell when it comes to this thing. It's very cute.
Well, they are the same person.
They're both named Nueng, aren't they?
Okay, but when Little Nueng says that she's nervous about Little Nueng's bitch of a mother tells her that she won't pass. And like, hold on. First of all, for a mother to tell her child, like, you're not going to pass. Like, you're supposed to be building your child up, not tearing her down. And like,
this was so fucked up.
Say this? Because she wants Little Nueng to live with her and not stay in Thailand. And like, okay, I understand. Like, we've talked about, Theora's made me understand about Pingfa wanting Little Nueng to be with her because she's jealous and just wants to know her daughter. But telling her she isn't going to pass when she tried so hard is not the way to do this. Like,
no, this is fucked.
The opposite of the way a mother should behave, and just proves that she should not be taking Little Nueng, because Little Nueng needs support, not whatever Pingfa is doing. Because between the mall and this and, you know, everything, I know.
It's looking real grim. And I appreciate that Big Nueng defends Little Nueng, because she says, why would you say it like that? Because, like, to your point, we knew the sentiment. Big Nueng knew the sentiment, but she's like, why would you say it like that? Look at her. She's getting sad. I'm going to take you outside and fight you.
Yeah, and like, that's not something you say out loud either. That's an internal parent thought. Like, you're allowed to not be happy on the inside, but on the outside, you better be damn celebrating and so happy that she got what she wanted, even though it makes it so you don't get what you want. And that's right. Being a parent. The nerves that are getting struck right now, man. Anyway, but Little Nueng had the best teacher possible, because like, even when she has to go to this other school, apparently Big Nueng was still her teacher. I don't understand what this cram school was, because how was Big Nueng still?
I think it's just a tutoring school. It's just a place where they can study, and I think that they might have like classes where you can like learn more about subjects, or it's just like a big open area where you can learn like independent study. And I think they were just doing independent study in like the library section. But like, when she met Folk in the cram school she was previously at, she was like coming out of a room. It almost looked like a classroom, like she was coming out of like a tutoring session kind of deal, and that's how she met
Maybe
him.
It's like broken up.
Right, I think it's a multifunctional place, but it's like a safe space for kids to keep studying outside of the home, outside of the actual school, I think is what it is. If you know more, please let us know. Huh?
Like a place for kids to study not under their parents.
Yeah, or like with faculty people there, maybe. If you know more about cram schools, let us know what they're like in the comments. They come up often in these shows.
Okay, so of course Little Nueng passed because she worked hard to get her cookies, except when she fell asleep and got the cookie without trying. And the entire family is excited, including Pingfa. Like, yes, Pingfa, that's what you were supposed to do, not say the first thing that came into your head. But thank you for pretending to be excited for your daughter. And I thought it was important to note that Little Nueng immediately turns to Big Nueng to celebrate with her instead of her blood family. Like, everyone's so excited and they're looking towards Little Nueng, and Little Nueng's just like, nope. And because Big Nueng's on the other end of everyone. So
okay, but we have to talk about this moment because it's really quick and it's really cute. So yeah, you're right. When Little Nueng gets the results, Big Nueng is staring at the laptop, like where the results come at. And she's like in disbelief, just staring at the laptop. Little Nueng shoots over and looks at Big Nueng and launches herself at Big Nueng. Like, Big Nueng does not see her coming. She just launches herself in front of everyone into Big Nueng. I'm assuming she just like bear hugged her. Meanwhile, the other people celebrating, Chet is probably my favorite because he looks like a very proud dad in this scene, and he still annoys me, but this is very cute. The way he's all excited that his daughter did this and he gets to be around her. It's very cute and stuff. And you're right, Pink, everybody genuinely like celebrates with her, but his reaction is hilarious just in the screenshot.
I mean, there's no question that Chet has pride in his daughter from like the second he knows about her.
Right.
Because, you know, he's a dude and that comes easy to him. Anyway.
Yes.
Like, proud of everything. Very confident. So there's no question about that. He just goes about everything wrong. If he just thought a little bit more, I feel like he could be a decent father, but he's Chet.
He's too paternalistic. It's just that paternalistic mindset where the man is the head of the house and the man makes all the decisions without anybody else. That's how he behaves. He's embodiment of that concept. But this is the one moment for me that humanized him a little bit more because he was like genuinely excited for something she did without his help, really. Well, I guess he could be like, good thing I got you the crayons. Maybe he'll take credit off screen. But like,
yeah, he'd probably.
He would, yeah. But this was cute. I still
it's nice to see everyone celebrating her instead of tearing her down.
Exactly. It's like the one moment in the show where everybody does that. It's a very quick scene.
Finally, but minus Pingfa's comment. This is finally the tension is positive on Little Nueng.
On Little Nueng, yeah, exactly.
So from here, we go to eat a meal together because, I'm convinced that this is the only way these people know how to interact. Because if food isn't involved, then no one knows what to do. That's why there's always food at everything.
Love.
Yes. And then Chet tells Little Nueng that his family really wants to meet her. But then Big Nueng's like, read the room, dude. Like, that's not it. Chet does say that he can wait and they can meet gradually. So he's like, all right, fine. I'll back off. Let it go. But unfortunately, Big Nueng is the one who has to step in and like get these parents, get this family to actually act how they're supposed to be. So then Chet's like, all right, well, what do? I just messed up a little bit. So what does he do? He throws money at it because like that's all he knows. All the parents know how to do is buy their daughter's love. So, and this isn't very much uncalled for because it is celebrating. Chet asks Little Nueng if she wants any gifts for passing the entrance exam. And I mean, yeah, like I understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big accomplishment. So this isn't out of nowhere. What is out of nowhere is the fact that he asks Little Nueng directly, what do you want? He doesn't just assume and get her a gift like he does later, like he probably did for her birthday also. Like, he asks her, what do you want? Which he never does. He never asks anybody else. So I thought that was a big thing he was doing. And I was like, okay, maybe he's getting into his father figure groove by like asking her, what do you want, Little Nueng?
You know what? That is completely fair. No one has asked her that. Unfortunately, she wants it to be like, where do you want to live? But
right, no, she's like, I want a key to Big Nueng's apartment. That's what I want.
But you know what? Little Nueng does not take advantage, but she's like,
oh yes, she does.
She's just like, okay, I finally get a choice. I'm going to make the choice to get me ahead with Big Nueng. Anyway.
Yes.
That's in a little bit. Little Nueng tells Chet that she will tell him in private and it will be a secret between the two of them.
And what I love is that, like you said, Kaitlynn, she capitalizes on this opportunity and uses it to tease Big Nueng. And because you watch Big Nueng when she's like, we'll keep the secret between the two of us. And the way she's like, what do you mean secrets? What the hell? I thought we told each other everything. I thought we were being intimate or whatever. And so she starts freaking out. Little Nueng's getting all smug and shit. And I love that she's playing into Big Nueng to tease her. But also she's masterfully playing into Chet's desperation for her affection. And she's like, I do want something. We'll keep it a secret between the two of us. The way he's like, yay, finally. Like, she plays both of them. She plays everybody at the table except the grandmother, who's not paying attention to any of this. It's so funny. She plays everybody in the scene. She's the smartest person in the room.
Well, it's also because the grandmother has no issue right now. Like, for once.
Her only issue is when Little Nueng hesitated when he asked, what do you want? He's like, sky's the limit. I'm your father. I will get you whatever you want. And she's like, I don't really want things from you. And the grandmother's the one who's like, no, you need to say something, because to accept his generous offer is having manners. You can't say nothing. I taught you to have manners. That's when she's like, fine, I guess if I want something, I'm going to go big, go home. I know something Big Nueng will like. Let's do this.
I mean, and to be fair, Chet did say, you can't ask for too much. Like, I'm good at I'll get you anything you want.
Right, exactly. And the grandmother's like, take him up on your offer. And she's like, if you're twisting my arm, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, boy, have I been thinking of something I want.
Yes. Key to Big Nueng's apartment.
Could you imagine if she asked him? Because you know that he'd hire someone immediately to, like, secretly figure out.
No, could you imagine Big Nueng comes home and she's like, why doesn't my key work? And he's like, listen, I had to change the locks. It's a secret with my daughter. Don't worry about it. And like, yeah, that'd be so funny.
But
I bought the building.
I bought the building.
She's like, you bought it from Sam? What the hell? I'm surprised Sam didn't buy that building to be like, I'm tired of paying your rent now. I own real estate now. What do you want from me?
That would be one way to not let the grandman be upset and like tell her not to give Nueng money.
She's like, I invested. What do you want, grandmother? That was smart. Real estate's good. And it's like, so Nueng doesn't pay rent. That'd be so funny. I'm really surprised Sam did it. Sam is not the smartest businesswoman. We'll just say that. She's a kind sister.
Like, probably the worst business. No, not the worst. Because it's still, like, decent. She just knows how... Okay, no, she is bad, but she knows enough to hire other people to keep it running just enough.
Correct. I feel like if Mom looked into the book, she'd be like, Sam, just buy the fucking building.
But going back to Big Nueng's reaction to when Little Nueng says that it'll be a secret between her and Chet, Big Nueng looks so hurt. And you can tell she feels like an outsider in this moment. And she's never felt like that with Little Nueng. She's always been the person that Little Nueng talked to. And she's been the center of Little Nueng's universe. And now that Little Nueng is going to have the secret with Chet, it's the first time that she is feeling similar emotions to how the parents feel seeing their daughter with Big Nueng. So she's finally feeling what the parents are like they want to get close to her, and now Big Nueng's like, I'm not as close to her.
And Big Nueng does not like this. Ma'am, your jealousy is showing. And she, for the rest of the evening, is just like overtly jealous that Little Nueng is keeping some kind of information from her and telling Chet, of all people. So then when you get the screenshot at the end when like Little Nueng's like, it'll be a secret between you and me, Dad. Big Nueng's overtly jealous and pissed off. Pingfa is also pissed off because she's like, how come he gets a secret with her and I don't get a secret with her? And like, what the fuck? And then the grandmother just is eating and doesn't give a flying fuck about what's going on. Like, this screenshot has Renaissance energy and I love it. Hang it in the Louvre. This is so hilarious looking. Just like, look at it. It's so funny. Grandmother, zero fucks. Pingfa's mad at Chet. Chet is in his own little world. I'm victorious. And Big Nueng is like, Little Nueng, how could you? It's so funny.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. It's always an eventful time with family dinners.
Always.
Okay, so Little Nueng is obviously aware that Big Nueng is jealous and fully plays into it because...
She played her so good.
What else would Little Nueng do? And she's like, you want to know what I asked Chet for, don't you? And Big Nueng's just worried that she isn't close to Little Nueng as she thought. Which is why Little Nueng is okay with keeping a secret from her. Because she's like, I thought we were so close. You tell me everything. We tell each other everything. Like, we promised each other we wouldn't hide emotions from each other. So, like, that's basically, emotions are the secret with Big Nueng. So that was basically the way of saying we have no secrets between us. And then basically in the scene, Little Nueng is playing hard to get without playing hard to get, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. So, like, yeah, no, because Little Nueng she's playing Big Nueng. Okay, that's what she's doing. She's making Big Nueng feel like an outsider and act overtly jealous to, again, test her theory. Like, do you really like me? I need you to admit stuff. Also, she got little Big Nueng to admit she loved her in the other scene, so she's like, I'm just going to have fun with this. And you can tell me with your actions how much you care about me. And basically, there's a line that Big Nueng has where she's basically like, well, I guess if you're going to keep this stuff from me, I'm just like everybody else. And I think what she really means in that line is I'm an outsider in the situation, like you're saying, Kaitlynn. I think she basically says that. And Little Nueng cuts her off immediately. She's like, it's good. It's good you're not part of my family, because that means we can date. Duh.
Yeah, I love that Little Nueng turns everything around, being like, now you can be my girlfriend. And it wouldn't be attractive if she revealed everything. Like that. She's like, secrets keep things more mysterious.
Right, she's got I gotta be a little coy to keep you interested. You're a very interesting, mysterious person. I can't just give you everything. But Big Nueng's like, wait a minute. Girlfriend, what the fuck do you mean by that? And Little Nueng's like, I didn't say that. I meant nobody can replace you. Because I think Little Nueng is testing her to be like, what are you comfortable with? And then she's like, I'm not comfortable with this word. She's like, okay, fine, we won't label it. I'll just tell you nobody can ever replace you in my... Which is worse. Like, that's more special than saying girlfriend. Like... And Big Nueng's feeling it, because I think this sentiment gets to her more than anything, and she's kind of like calms down a little bit after Little Nueng says this. She's still mad about the whole, seriously, why do you have to keep a secret from me? But, like, that puts her at ease, you know?
Oh, yeah, but Big Nueng is still very much insecure about the secret.
Oh, yeah.
So Little Nueng, trying to smooth it over a little bit, she's like, oh, I can make this better. Little Nueng does the most legally binding thing, and Pinky promises Big Nueng that she will be the first person to see the secret. Well, she initiates the Pinky promise.
She offers her Pinky, but Big Nueng is sulking and does not take the Pinky. So there is no contract had here.
No. But Big Nueng...
She's like, instead, can you give me a hint about what this is?
Yes. And this hint... Little Nueng grabs Big Nueng's face.
What a move.
And pulls her close and says, look at my eyes. Okay, so first, it's very reminiscent of when Big Nueng saw Little Nueng's eyes for the first time, because apparently you can't see them if you have glasses on. Like that whole weird scene where, oh, you're beautiful when you're not wearing your glasses. Which is why we're here. But anyway, Big Nueng immediately starts to panic because now they're a lot closer. She's looking into her eyes, and, you know, the family's right behind that wall.
They're in the room. Anyway, yeah. Mm-hmm. The other thing about this, too, is that Big Nueng admits later that Little Nueng's eyes are her weakness. And she has heart-stopper moments, like where her heart stops and time stops when, like, she's looking directly into her eyes. So what Little Nueng does is when she grabs Big Nueng's face, you see Big Nueng panic. She's like, oh, fuck, she grabbed my face. And then she, like, leans in and then gets up on her tippy toes. And so they're, like, very close. When she's like, look into my eyes, right? But Big Nueng is dying inside and can't see the hint at all. She's just like, oh, my God. Pretty. That's basically her thought. She's no thoughts, just pretty.
Oh, no thoughts, just gay.
No thoughts, just gay. And what I find worth noting is that when Little Nueng grabs her face, Big Nueng grabs Little Nueng's wrists and just holds them. She doesn't pull her away. She doesn't try to get out of this. She just holds on to her and, like, lets this happen and just, like, holds Little Nueng there in this stare that they're having. Which is interesting, because if you didn't want to be there, you could easily get out of this, but she doesn't. She wants to be there.
No, she's kind of like holding on to her to keep her there.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it reads to me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's very cute.
Just kiss
Little
her.
Nueng knows what she's doing.
Little Nung plays this whole evening. She plays everybody in the room. It's amazing.
The fact that the way Little Nung grew up is how she learned to be this, because really she is manipulating every single person.
Oh yeah, she played them all of them. She's
good. Like she's like, I need to get what I want somehow, and this is the only way to do that when I have so much controlling people in my life. So I'm gonna do what I need to do. Survival
of the gayest.
Survival of the gayest. That's a title. After who knows how long?
What is time in this show?
I don't know. I need like explicit timelines, like a lower third of telling us how many days have passed.
Like 3 months later.
Is it mere seconds? Who knows? Actually, Little Nung does say a few days, like she's been gone, and Big Nueng did not contact her. But Big Nueng's just pouting. She's very good at pouting.
Oh God, this is so funny.
But
they get to the school, and the way Big Nueng is just bitching the whole time. She's like, "It's so hot outside, and there's so many young people. Why the fuck did you bring me?" She's just bitching. It's so funny.
First of all, I'm surprised Big Nueng agreed to go anywhere with Ping Fa in general. But okay, so Big Nueng's about to find out what the secret was, and then Ping Fa is tasked by Little Nung to bring Big Nueng to, I'm assuming, the university.
Yeah, they're at the university.
Yeah, so Big Nueng's complaining, but immediately stops when she hears Little Nung asked her mom to bring her here. So Ping Fa says that I'm just doing what my daughter asked me to do. We find out that the surprise is that Little Nung got Lasik and no longer needs her glasses. And she says, when I didn't wear glasses... Okay, this translation doesn't really make sense, but like basically, don't I look beautiful without my glasses?
Right.
And so it reminds us of the time when Little Nung's glasses fell off and Big Nueng truly saw Little Nung for the first time. Which, again, is still weird that it took her glasses not being on her face, like the Clark Kent situation.
I know. It is weird. I'm with you.
Anyway, Big Nueng is trying to hide how attracted she is to Little Nung right now.
Yes, that is the problem.
Little Nung is not helping.
No.
And
Little Nung wants compliments. She's like, where's my compliment? Yeah. And Big Nueng's like,
Little Nung's like, do I look grown up now? Like, am I old enough now to be with you because I don't have glasses on?
My hair's down too, also.
Big Nueng says a little bit, and Little Nung is upset because, again, Big Nueng is refusing to compliment her. She does, but in general, Big Nueng's not one to really give compliments. Like, he hides everything. She barely speaks. She speaks when it's necessary. So the fact that Little Nung gets as many words out of her in general is amazing.
Yeah.
And like, Little Nung, your mother is right there. Like,
listen.
Big Nueng cannot say what she's actually feeling now.
She's right there. You had her bring Big Nueng here. Like, come on now.
Yeah. And then Big Nueng turns to Ping Fa and gets on her case and is like, you knew what was happening and didn't tell me? And like, she's so kind of upset that like everybody's keeping something from her, because again, she's not used to this. Like, she's used to keeping stuff from everybody else.
Yep.
But Ping Fa says that Little Nung told her not to tell her, so she didn't. And I think, first of all, we saw what happened when Chet had a secret with her. So Ping Fa was just so happy to share something with her daughter that Big Nueng wasn't a part of yet. She's like, finally, this is something between the two of us.
Yeah. So this was a win for Ping Fa, just having a secret with Little Nung. She's like, we're bonding, finally, just the two of us. You know, it's a win.
Yeah, but little did Chet and Ping Fa know that the secret was just gonna get Little Nung and Big Nueng closer.
Yeah.
For a weird reason.
Yep. The whole thing is they're just trying to make Little Nung look older. That's all that it is.
Okay.
Again, people with glasses can be of any age, but they're just visually trying to show the viewer she's an adult now. That's all they're doing. But it's annoying.
Okay, so then Pingfa tells Big Nueng that she wants her to screen Little Nung's friends. Which this is another thing that I find weird. And Big Nueng rightly asks her why, and Pingfa says that she trusts her the most, but also Little Nung will only listen to her. So, like, if they aren't good enough for Little Nung, Big Nueng's really the only person that could tell her that to stop hanging out with them. Which Big Nueng wouldn't do. I feel like even if she didn't like someone, she respects Little Nung.
I feel like she would be honest about it, though, and be like...
She would tell her, but, like...
Right.
If Little Nung fought back...
Right. She would let her make her own choice, but, like, she would express her concerns, is the thing.
Yeah.
And Little Nung would listen to those concerns versus, like, dismissing Chet, the grandmother, Pingfa, definitely.
Oh, yeah. If they told her that, she'd be like, oh, you don't like them? Then that must mean
fuck
that
out of here.
Really should be friends with them.
Right. I'm going to be friends with them even harder.
So Pingfa is worried that Little Nung will also end up like her, but not because she doesn't want her to, but because she knows how the grandmother would react. But also we're past that point. Like, technically, Little Nung isn't going to end up like Pingfa because we're past high school.
I mean, yes and no. So here's what I think is happening here. I think that Pingfa, the more she sees Little Nung, the more she's like, you kind of are like me a lot. Like, look at your obsession with Big Nueng. You're kind of a lot like me. And I think she's worried that Little Nung is going to get into an unwed mother situation. Like, if she got pregnant outside of marriage, that's the worry. She's like, you're still not married. You're still technically in school. There's still time to fuck shit up. So I think that's what she's worried about, because that's another social scandal. And she's like, my mother would never survive a second social scandal that looked a lot like mine. So I think that's why Pingfa's freaking out. And that's why she's like, Nung, listen, I trust you the most. Like, please, please, please help me with this, because I'm seeing similarities here. And, like, I don't care, but, like, I think my mother would be 6 feet under. So I'm worried about this. And, you know, this is another thing where Nung is getting guilty, because she's like, you're giving me all this fucking trust and telling me to screen suitors, and here I am making out with your daughter and having gay thoughts about her. So, like, really, you should be screening me. And it's like, yeah, it's this whole the clusterfuck in her brain.
Okay, so, but apparently with this conversation, Little Nung was not able to hear it.
Yeah, she was somewhere talking to whatever, and then came back and was like, what are you guys talking about? Yeah, and they did a sidebar.
Yeah, okay. So Big Nueng tells her that her mom is worried about the guys flirting with her.
Oh my god.
But Little Nung has a great way to ease her mom's concerns. And she asks her, well, what if I date a woman? Yeah. And no so babies. Both women are now freaking out in their own way. Big Nueng is like, damn it, girl, I was not ready for you to tell your mom that. Now she's going to be suspicious. But it's Pingfa, let's be real. She's still...
She's so taken aback by this. She's like, what? What are you asking me?
Yeah, her mom is mostly thinking, been there, done that. And worried what her life is going to be like for her, because Pingfa has her own trauma from admitting her feelings to Big Nueng. And that is probably also what she's going back on as well. She's like, shit, well, I told this one that I was in love with her, and it did not end well.
Right, exactly. But then she's like, does not compute. Like, would my mother even accept that? I don't even know. It never got that far for Pingfa, so she's like, oh shit, I don't know. And I love that while she's like, does not compute, like the file won't load in Pingfa's brain, he cuts over to Little Nung, and she makes this face, because like, she's looking at both women, like Pingfa and Nung, because Big Nung's like, oh fuck. She's trying to basically lead into, I'm dating her. And the way she looks at both of them with this little innocent looking face. And it's like, girl, you're stirring up so much shit right now. And you're trying to look all innocent. Like, it's just a question, Mommy. Answer the question. Such an asshole. It's so funny.
Yeah, Big Nueng is definitely not ready for Ping Fa to know anything that's going on right now.
Big Nueng was not ready for this.
And Little Nueng is just, like, pressuring her mom to decide quickly if she's okay with her dating woman. And, like,
yes or no? Yes or no?
First of all, like, I understand you want her to be accepting, but, like, this is a lot to throw at her just really randomly. Like, she's not even letting her process it. And Little Nueng doesn't even know that her mom had feelings for Big Nueng, which I know that scene.
When did they ever have this conversation? I want it to be there
like,
for
did
this conversation.
Big Nueng even tell Little Nueng
right.
that? It's like, we don't get anything that deals with that plot point. I really want it.
It would have been so good. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. No, I need them to film something. Something. Just this conversation. I need it. I need it so bad. Anyway. Ping Fa just says, I don't know, and tells Little Nueng to ask Big Nueng.
Oh my god.
And I'm sure Big Nueng is just thrilled to be put in the middle of this conversation.
Okay, but then what does Little Nueng do? Little Nueng hops, skips, and a jump, because she's elated, over to Big Nueng and grabs her arm, the clingy thing that she does, in front of her mother, and then is like, well, if you're telling Big Nueng to decide, she gives me everything I want. So I guess the answer is yes. And then she's giving her mother the visual of her and Big Nueng as she's being like, you want me to date a woman? How does this look? And Big Nueng's like, oh my god, your mother's gonna put 2 and 2 together. Like, she's losing it. And she's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? The mouse got all the cookies in this scene. like, oh my god.
The mouse is just stealing cookies at this point.
Mouse became a Girl Scout. And I was like, look at all these cookies. And Big Nueng's like, how could you? Because just the visual. She's like, she's presenting it. She's like, I guess that means this is okay, right, mother? And it's like, oh my god. Little Nueng. The audacity.
Yes, the audacity. But Big Nueng tries to get around this by telling Little Nueng to focus on her studies for right now. Like, you do not need to be worrying about relationships. Doesn't matter who you're interested in. Just, study.
What an answer. Which Ping Fa's like, that's a great answer, Nueng. That's a great answer. That's what children her age should be doing. Damn, where was this advice when I was young?
It's like they're on Family Feud. Great answer.
Great answer. That was a great answer. Oof. Big Nueng's like, dodge that.
Ping Fa is secure enough now that she leaves and goes to the bathroom. She's like, all right, we dodged a bullet here. I am free to leave them. That was the worst thing you could do, by the way. Big Nueng uses this opportunity to complain about how Little Nueng says she would be the first to see the secret. But the entire university saw before her, and
the way she's not over this is so funny. She's just like,
I love how they go back to this. Not like, who almost told your mother that we're dating?
Literally. And then she's like, but the Lasik, Little Nueng, how could you? This is the thing you're upset
all these people saw you. All these people who don't matter saw you before me.
What a baby. Who's the adult in this relationship?
Little Nueng's like, well, you didn't finish the pinky promise, so I can't be held to that statement.
And that's true. It is not legally binding.
Yeah, the contract was voided, Big Nueng. All you had to do was give her your pinky. It was simple as that.
But here's the deal with Big Nueng, though. She learns this lesson. So going forward, there are always pinky promises with her where the pinkies are doing the promising. Like, going forward, she's like, no. Like, let's make this legally... And Big Nueng initiates the pinky promises. She's like, no. Let's legally binding. Let's make this legally binding. Yeah. She learns this lesson the hard way.
I love how this is a constant...
It's a thing!
Right now, is that a pinky promise is legally binding. If you do not pinky promise, you cannot be held to it.
I've never seen people be so serious about pinky promises. Like, the enforcement of the pinky promise is so serious in these shows, and I love it. And it's a consistent theme. I love it so much.
Do you think a pinky promise will hold up in a court of law?
Yes. In Thailand specifically, yeah.
In Thailand. No, like, I'm wondering, if someone from Thailand is pinky promising like a big thing over there?
Yeah, is it a media thing?
Or is it just
real?
like the media? Because I feel like media you get from real life. So like, is just everyone going around making contracts with pinky promises? Like, are business deals going down with a pinky promise? Could you imagine though?
That would be amazing. And you take the photo instead of the handshake, it's like the pinkies. That'd be amazing. I'm here for that. But,
oh my gosh.
Damn, I don't know.
Yes. Okay, so Little Nung then says that it's good that she gets to stay in Thailand, and then tells Big Nung that she will grow to be worthy of her and will be hers and only hers.
Oh my god. And then I love in this scene when she's doing this, the way she leans all the way into Big Nung's space, is like almost laying in her lap. And Big Nung is like, hey, we are still in public, ma'am. I know that your mother's in the bathroom. And can you sit properly and not make a scene? And then she's like, whatever. You're going to be mine eventually. So get used to this. My lord. She's so respectfully aggressive. It's so hilarious.
That is, I feel like, the best description of Little Nung in general.
Yeah, she's respectfully aggressive.
With tons of audacity.
So much audacity. It's off the chart audacity. If audacity was an Olympic sport, she'd have all the gold medals.
Oh my gosh, we should do that like chart thing with like audacity, like submissiveness, like and like all of that, and like put all the characters on the graph.
Yeah. The graph. We should.
There's so much to do. Anyway, so then we go to Big Nung's apartment, and Little Nung is visiting because of course she is. And Big Nung makes her dinner, and it kind of looks like this spaghetti carbonara thing, and it looks so good, and I just want to eat it so bad.
I'm pretty sure that is what it is. And I just love that Big Nung cooks Little Nung dinner, which is very sweet and cute. And it's like, it goes back to what Big Nung said in another episode where she's like, you show people you love them in other ways. And like, this is her way of showing, she's like, because that's her love language, but she's like, I put in effort for you, and you came over here after school, and like, here's me putting in effort into our relationship. It's very sweet.
Yes. And then Little Nung does a happy dance because it tastes good. And honestly, that's so relatable because like if something it just tastes like you have to do.
It's so cute.
It's like I've definitely seen you do it with food as well. Like it's just you have to. Like
I know. It's so cute. Little Nung is the most relatable character. She just is. Yes. She's so relatable.
Because she says everything that's in her mind. And if people said everything that's in their mind, people would realize that we're all so much more similar than we think. But it's because we keep so much internal that it's harder to relate to people. But Little Nung is just relatable.
She's just, all her things are relatable. She starts a podcast, she dances when she eats food, she's into Big Nung. I'm like, all of this is relatable. I get it. But you also thought that relatable. Yeah, it was very relatable and adorable and very sweet. But what's even cuter than just Little Nung's reaction to eating the food is watching Big Nung's reaction to Little Nung eating the food, because she smiles really big because she's like, it's this beautiful feeling to be like, I put in all this effort to this and I made this for you. And Little Nung clearly loves it. And Big Nung is so happy that Little Nung is happy. It's just, and she's like enjoying her. She's like, I made you happy because I made that food. It's so cute and really sweet. And I love after she eats it, Little Nung, like, Big Nung tries to get into school stuff, and Little Nung's ignoring her because she's just like happy about the food, and she's like, wait, where did you buy this? What restaurant did you get this? So like Little Nung had no idea that Big Nung made this, and she's just like enjoying the food. She's like, where'd you get it from? I need to go there now. And Big Nung's like, no, wait, tell me about it. Like, she doesn't even know. She put all this effort into her, and it's very cute. This scene is adorable.
And then once she finds out, she's like, okay, well now we have to be together forever because that was
she's
amazing.
Like, I gotta marry you. You can cook. She's like, what do you mean you can cook? You got all the skills.
Relatable.
Yeah, she's like, I want to wife you after I graduate.
I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
So Big Nung is trying to see if any guys have been flirting with Little Nung. But
Okay, wait. The way she asked the question is so funny. She's like, how was school today? Did any men flirt with you? Like, she doesn't let her give her any, like, space between those two sentences. She's like, how are classes? Did men flirt with you? No. Did men flirt?
Like,
she goes right back
care about school.
I don't care about school.
Let's get to the men.
I don't care. Yeah, like, so funny. She's so obvious in the scene. It's hilarious.
And Little Nueng just keeps evading the actual question.
She's
just
to
get a rise out of Big Nueng. Because it's so easy.
It's so easy.
Because Big Nueng has it bad.
Oh, yeah. So bad.
And Little Nueng tells her that she didn't give the guys her number because she knew that Big Nueng would be jealous.
And, like, she just loves watching Big Nueng squirt. Because I like when she's asking, and she's like, well, you know, I made a bunch of friends. And Big Nueng's like, that's not what I asked. And then she's like, did you give any... She's like, well, some guys asked for my number. And Big Nueng's like, did you give them your number? And she's like, guess. Like, she leans in and she's like, guess. And Big Nueng's like, no. And that's when she's like, of course I can't give other people my phone number because someone in this apartment is going to be jealous as fuck. Go look in the mirror.
So, Big Nueng is called out, and she doesn't like being called out. So, she says that she wouldn't be jealous. But Little Nueng's like, well, you should be. Who's afraid of little old me? You should be. Because if Little Nueng likes other people, Big Nueng would be lonely. And boy, does that call Big Nueng out even more.
Absolutely. Because that is what she's afraid of. She's afraid of being left behind. For sure. And I like that Little Nueng, despite all of Big Nueng's bullshit, Little Nueng does see through her. She's getting much better at reading her, like, mask and being like, that's not what you mean. You're showing me something, but I think you mean this. And then Big Nueng will give her a reaction. She's like, yeah. It's cute.
Yeah, so then right after this, Little Nueng finds out that Big Nueng actually cooked the food. And it just makes her swoon over Big Nueng even more. And she's like, you're so cool. Then proceeds to tell them that they should get married after she graduates. Like, she's so good at escalating these conversations. Like, she's like, oh, this? Marriage. All right, we're spending the rest of our life together.
This bitch has no chill. We went, like, you can't even... We just came off of a scene where she was basically trying to say, you're my girlfriend, and Big Nueng was like, what? Girlfriend? And she's like, no, just you're irreplaceable in my life. And then here she's like, we're getting married in 4 years. And it's like, girl, what? Like, the leaps.
And Little Nueng also tells her that she should cook for her every day. And honestly, that's also relatable, because I would love somebody like that in my life. Cooking sucks for me.
I mean, she's a good cook, too. Like, Big Nueng knows what the hell she's doing.
I mean, that looks so good.
All her food looks
amazing. Now.
All her food looks amazing. And I'll say this in a later scene again. And Big Nueng makes all this food in this tiny-ass kitchen, which is a testament to how good of a cook she is, because that's really challenging to do. So what she does is actually pretty amazing. So Little Nueng is spot on here. She's like, you're literally perfect, so we should get married. And then Big Nueng has no opportunity to really react to this. She's like, what? And then Little Nueng goes in for the cheek kiss, which throws Big Nueng even more off of her game. Like, she's just been throwing Little Nueng has been throwing Big Nueng off her game the minute she walked into this apartment. And Big Nueng, it keeps escalating out of control, and it gets more and more out of control, and she's like, oh dear, okay. Back at cheek kissing, I guess.
I think Little Nueng, no, not Little Nueng, Big Nueng is still on the fact that Little Nueng's like, we're gonna get married in 4 years.
Yes.
And Big Nueng finds herself a little too comfortable with that thought. So she reminds herself that Little Nueng is just a girl. She's like, I need to bring myself back down to reality. But Little Nueng immediately says that she isn't a girl anymore. Because, she doesn't have glasses.
Right. I'm an adult now. I have no glasses.
Then Big Nueng counters saying that if she is a crybaby like this, then it means she is a girl. And really, Big Nueng is just concerned because the age gap is so big, and Little Nueng just turned 21, that she doesn't... Like, Big Nueng's worried that she doesn't know what she wants yet, because she's still so young. She really doesn't know the world yet. She's also been sheltered. She hasn't been given the opportunity to go out and see, which season 2, episode 1, we see her explore the world a little bit. But she's worried that there'll come a time where little Nung will want to be with someone closer to her own age.
And she makes points. I agree with all of that. Big Nueng also and Big Nueng has valid concerns. It's not that she's invalidating Little Nung's feelings. She never does that. She's like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. She does make valid points based on everything you just said. Like, their age gap is a real thing, and I like that they address it and, like, address the problems that can come from this. And one of the things she says, and it comes up quite often, is she says, your age may make you addicted to me. And I think by that she means, like, attached, because you're more hormonal when you're younger. It's just biology. And she's like, you're more likely to, like, see me as your first love and get irreparably attached to me, and that could cause problems because you haven't seen the world, like you said. But she's like, but now you're entering university, and university is a brand new situation. Like, you meet people from all over the world, you're interacting with new people. You're an adult, like, you're being seen as an adult by society now, and, like, you're learning to stand on your own 2 feet and figure out who you are. And she's like, you're gonna transition into the phase of your life when you're making found families, right, with your friends that you meet in university. And she's like, and then you're going to become reliant and attached to them. Right now it's like, I'm the only adult you see who treats you like a person, but you're going to meet other people that treat you like a person, and then you're going to outgrow me. So by the end of the conversation, Big Nueng is really projecting how she feels. And so she says basically, like, listen, like, I would rather be left alone, she tells Little Nueng, because Big Nueng is afraid that if this relationship keeps going, she's going to get her hopes up, and she is going to be the one that's more attached to Little Nueng than Little Nueng is attached to her. And Big Nueng is terrified that she is going to get her heart completely broken when Little Nueng outgrows her, which is a very real possibility, and it's not wrong. It's, that could be. Things change over time, and Little Nueng is too young to really know that and to have experienced that. Like you said, Kaitlynn, she's been so sheltered, which is a really great point. But, and even though Big Nueng knows this is a possibility, I think she's still just downright terrified. And so I think she knows that it's in Little Nueng's best interest to, like, move on from her, but she's like, I'm going to be crushed when that happens. But Little Nueng, as always, doubles down on her feelings and is like, listen, nothing will ever change. My feelings never change for you. Just because I go to college, it doesn't mean anything. I don't understand what you're saying. She's like, I will still make time to come see you. Like she used to in high school. She's like, I came and saw you during all my free time. She's like, I can still do that. I don't understand why things have to change. And she's like, and I have to keep making time to see you, because if I don't, someone else is going to swoop in and take all of my love away from me by falling in love with you, basically. And this is when, Big Nueng, you were trying so hard, and then you flip-flop in this conversation. And I think this is the part where Big Nueng transitions into being real, like real, not just being like, hey, we need to stop this. She basically tells her, well, no one's going to come in and take me away from you, is what she's basically saying, because I don't love anybody else. But at this point, Little Nueng has already heard the confession, and she knows Big Nueng loves her and only her, and that's what she hears in this conversation. She's like, oh, so I have nothing to be threatened by going to school, because basically you're not going to fall for anybody else. You're only going to love me. So that's really great. But instead of, like, she smiles, but she doesn't acknowledge this. Instead, she's like, okay, you're not ready to admit this, but I already know. So she's like, well, you want to know something else about school today since you asked? She's like, well, I saw Folk. He studies in the building next door. I wasn't listening to him when he told me what it was. I just know that he's nearby. And which I love, she clearly doesn't care about him. And she's like, he got a haircut, and now he looks like a man. Because, like, apparently you change your hair and suddenly you look like an adult. And I'm like, oh my god. And she's like, yeah, what a grown-up he is. And she's, like, trying to pretend like she's swooning over Folk, but she's trying to push Big Nueng's buttons. And it works. And Big Nueng takes this opportunity to be like, you too. She's like, you look grown up now. And she's like, because of that, many guys are going to look at you. And Little Nueng's like, but I'm only going to look at you. And she's so, like, fierce about it. Respectfully aggressive. But I love Big Nueng's line where she's like, well, I'll wait and see that. Like, this is almost like the most that they've ever had with, like, actually flirting with each other in a direct way. So by the end of it, I think Big Nueng's fears of like Little Nueng leaving her are lessened. And this, what I can akin this conversation to is when they were on the bridge in the first episode, when Little Nueng was like, I'll be worthy of you, I promise. This is the same kind of conversation where Big Nueng walked away from that being like, okay, she gave me her word. She promised to be worthy, okay? And then what happened? She kind of broke that promise and Big Nueng spiraled immediately. We're going into the exact same scenario where Little Nueng is basically telling her, you're not going to lose my affection. I'm not going to leave you. I promise. That's what Big Nueng heard in this conversation. She's like, okay, I believe you. Like, that was the end. So, like, it sets up what's going to happen in the next couple of scenes.
Yeah. And then Big Nueng tries to send her home. But, of course, Little Nueng doesn't want to go.
No, never.
No, Little Nueng will never go. If she doesn't have to. So Little Nueng tells Big Nueng that she will come be with her whenever she has free time. So she's like, every waking moment that I'm not at school,
I'll be there.
I will be here.
I'll be
watching you. I love that. Our brains go to the same place now. And then we get this whole exchange that basically boils down to Big Nueng now sees Little Nueng as an adult because she no longer wears glasses, which we've already talked about extensively, so we'll spare the same conversation again.
And we'll shoot on over to the last part of this episode, which is 30 minutes. So that takes us to part 4, the 30-minute part of this episode where all the shit hits the fan. Okay, so...
It's an understatement.
I know. So Little Nueng does keep good on her promises to Big Nueng, I guess, for a while. So we shoot on over to insert time lapse. I don't even know. Big Nueng is in her apartment making dinner, okay, for Little Nueng. And she makes this entire complicated meal. First of all, with no recipe. She's just in her apartment making this in that tiny ass kitchen. Little Nueng, wife her faster. She's the perfect woman. She's
this is
trying, so hard.
Theora. She's trying.
Do it faster, okay? Because, like, don't let the specimen get away. Because, good lord, okay? Hydrate for this scene. Oh my god, okay. Good on you, Big Nueng. And it's so cute because Big Nueng is in the apartment making this dish and she's clearly so pleased with herself. She's like, ooh, it's coming out so good. It's very cute the way she's not just like it's a labor of love, and you can tell she's very pleased with herself that she's making this thing for Little Nueng and is very happy about it. And it's very cute. Then we shoot on over to later on in the evening. All the food's out. It's ready to go. There are 2 sets of plates, 2 sets of utensils. Like, she planned to eat with Little Nueng because sharing more food is more intimate in Big Nueng's brain. So, like, this is a depiction of her headspace by making this meal. It's meant to be intimate. So, but Little Nueng's not there. So she's like, where are you? It's dinner time. What the hell? And who knows? It's dark. Like, who knows how long she's been waiting after this was ready. So she picks up her phone and calls Little Nueng. And Little Nueng picks up and she's like, oh, shoot. She's like, I was studying with my friends and I lost track of time. I'll come over right now. And in Big Nueng's brain, this is Little Nueng breaking her promise of never leaving her, this is all of her insecurity. She's like, you're more addicted to your friends at this point. You are abandoning me. Oh my God. And she's like, just forget it. Study with your friends or whatever the fuck. So she freaks the fuck out. Right? This is what she did when Little Nueng broke, quote, the promise of courting her, right? Then she does something I don't understand where she takes the curry and throws it in the trash. And it's like, girl, you're broke. Why are you wasting food? Like, put it in the fridge and eat it later. Why did she throw this out? This is crazy.
Because it represents pain now.
Pain curry. Yeah, I guess it's like
it's just the beginning though, Big Nueng. You're in for it this part.
Could you imagine her trying to eat it later? She's like, I can just taste the abandonment. You know, I guess that's right. I think you're right. All right, so then Little Nung, who can tell that conversation did not go well, then starts blowing up Big Nung's phone. And Big Nueng is like, I'm pissed off at you right now for breaking your promise. So she's like, but I don't want to be alone right now, so I'm going to call my friend we haven't seen yet. So she calls Dr. Juan Viva. And she demands that her rich friend takes her out to dinner, which she's such a shameless moocher. I can't with her, and it's hilarious.
She's like, you're gonna buy me something.
She's like, take me out to dinner. Like, that's what she basically says. And Juan Viva's like, all right, whatever. So they go out to dinner together. And at the dinner, Little Nung is still blowing up Big Nung's phone. And at one point, you see her turn the phone off, and it's 11:30 at night when they're getting to... Remember that. They're sitting down to eat at 11:30 at night. Haven't eaten yet. It's 11:30 at this point. Lumpy was like, who is blowing up your phone at 11:30 at night? And also, why won't you answer the phone? This is really weird behavior. Big Nung's like, it's just some annoying girl. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm with you now, and I feel so much better that I get to look at your beautiful face. And one of you was like, that's true. I do have one of those faces, you know. And it's kind of revealed through this that these friends go way back. And, you know, Juan Viva's starting to pick up that, like, something weird is going on with Big Nueng. And Big Nueng admits in this conversation, she's like, well, you know, she basically admits, I don't want to be alone. She's like, eating alone is so boring, which is code for I don't want to be alone for Big Nueng. And being a good friend that Juan Viva is, she's like, all right, well, you know, I'll keep you company. And they go about and eat their dinner in peace. Then afterward, the rich doctor has to drop Big Nueng off at her apartment, okay, in her fancy car. And this scene is way different in the book. So I'm just going to talk about how it goes down in this first, and then we'll go to the book. So in the show, basically Juan Viva drops her off and gets out of the car. And Juan Viva's like, listen, Nueng, it's been 84 years since we last hung out, and that's unacceptable. You clearly have my number and not afraid to use it. So from now on, you have to call me so we can hang out more often. And Big Nueng's like, I don't know about this. Basically, she's like having buyer's remorse. She's like, I don't know. I don't really want to like lead you on. I just didn't want to be alone and like whatever. And Juan Viva's like, I have friends who are lawyers because I'm a doctor. And she forces her to pinky promise that she's not going to disappear, basically. She's like, you're going to keep in touch with me. It's legally binding now. Because she's like, if you don't, we're not going to be friends anymore. I'm done with you. Because I feel like Big Nueng's the friend that, like, contacts Juan Viva when it's convenient for Big Nueng and not the other way around. She's that friend. Juan Viva's like, no.
It's a terrible friendship to have.
This doesn't sound like a healthy friendship. So Juan Viva's like, this is going to be a healthy friendship. You're going to contact me more often. We're actually going to be friends. I made you pinky swear. Big Nueng was like, whatever. And then Juan Viva goes back to get in the car and is, like, blowing kisses to Big Nueng. And, like, it takes 20 minutes for her to get in the car. Like, several kisses are exchanged, and then she drives away. Okay. And Little Nueng sees all of this, okay? And then they have a conversation, which is heartbreaking in a minute. But before we get there, let's talk about how this went down in the book, because the read in the show is that, like, Little Nueng happened to be there, and this happened to happen, right? Because Little Nueng was like, I came, I said I was going to come here, I came here, what the fuck was this? In the book, this is way more vindictive on Big Nueng's part. So in the book, when she calls Juan Viva and Juan Viva's girlfriend all go out with Big Nueng. So at this point, Juan Viva has a girlfriend. And they go out and talk and hang out or whatever. Then on the way back, Big Nueng spots Little Nueng. So she knows Little Nueng is there. And is like, Juan Viva, you have to come out of the car with me. And Juan Viva picks up on what's going on, and she's like, Big Nueng, if I go out with you and do this, my girlfriend's gonna be mad at me. And Big Nueng's like, whatever, just do it and pretend to be my date. And, like, basically coerces her into this flirting exchange to make Little Nueng jealous. So, like, Big Nueng actually sets this up in the book to piss off Little Nueng, like, purposefully. In the show, it looks like an accident. But Juan Viva just being like, you're gonna get me in trouble with my girlfriend. Big Nueng, what the hell? It was really funny. The scene is funny in the book. So, anyway, this is all Big Nueng's fault. Okay, so back to the show. So, I gotta hydrate first, hold on.
I think Big Nueng doesn't want to, like, hurt Little Nueng like that. Like, no matter how much she's hurting, she doesn't really want to put that back on Little. I know it's just to, like, make her jealous, but
Oh no, I think she's trying to hurt her. She is trying to hurt her in this scene. That's why she picked Juan Viva. She could have went and saw Sam. She did this on purpose because the way she talks to Little Nung in the beginning, she's trying to hurt her and be like, see, I can leave you first. And see how that feels? Like, you ditched me, I ditched you. How does that feel? And Little Nung's like, that is not what this argument is about.
Okay. Yeah, so she's just trying to protect herself.
She is trying to hurt Little Nung. It is good. Because, like, what is Big Nung's response to being hurt? Anger and lashing out at the other person. That's why she's always attacking the grandmother. She's attacking Little Nung, but doing it in a political way where it's like, I'm not going to physically hurt you. I'm emotionally going to hurt you. That's what she's doing. So this is all on purpose. And Little Nung's like, tries to call her out, basically be like, you just went out with some other woman behind my back. And Big Nung's like, she's like, who is this person? And Big Nung's like, a friend. And Little Nung's like, you don't have friends. What do you mean it's a friend? Because she's playing into Little Nung's fear, from the prior scene where she's like, if I'm not around, somebody else is going to swoop in and take all of my love for you away. That's what she's doing. She set up the scenario so Little Nung would see it and be like, see, someone else could, if you're not here, look what happens immediately. Yeah. So Big Nueng finally feels like she has the upper hand here, and she just like runs with it, and she insists. She's like, listen, I have, quote, friends just like you have, quote, friends, right? See, it's the same. Because in her brain, Little Nung ditched her for the dinner date because she's enamored with these new people, which rationally Big Nueng knows is a good thing for her to hang out with people her own age, but she's way too jealous and upset about losing Little Nung, so she switches into a very angry, vengeful person. So Big Nueng's like, listen, you ditched me for your friends, I ditched you for mine, so like, we're even now, right? And Little Nung's like, when you keep using this word friend, she's like, what kind of friend is she? I just saw her blow you like 20 kisses across the car. What friend does that? Big Nueng's like, a close friend. And this is why I think she's doing this to hurt Little Nung, because her and Juan Viva are very, quote, close. So when they were younger in the books, I think it's more explicit in Affair than blank. But Big Nueng and Juan Viva actually hook up when they're younger. And it was a way for like Big Nueng, at least from Big Nueng's point of view, to experience what sex was like with a woman. And so, but afterwards they were like, nah, we're just friends. It was one of those things. So Big Nueng is being truthful here. She's like, she's a friend, a very close friend. And she's dangling that implication in front of Little Nung. That is what she's doing to like make her jealous and hurt her, is what she's trying to do. And so Little Nung, of course, picks up on this, and she's like, no, seriously, who is that then? So Big Nueng kind of like starts getting uncomfortable once like Little Nung starts getting upset. That's when Big Nueng's like, oh, maybe I pushed things too far. So she changes the subject. Instead of talking about Juan Viva, she's like, why are you here? It's late. Remember, when they were eating, it was 11:30. Who knows the fuck time it is now? 1 a.m.? Like, and Little Nung is showing up by herself at this apartment complex.
Where does the grandmother think she is right now?
With her school friends? I don't know. I think this is when Little Nung started lying about where she was at night. She's like, oh, I got a big project. I'm just going to sleep over in the dorm room with a friend of mine or whatever. I think it's those lies started here.
To be honest, I'm surprised the grandmother still allowed that. Be like, oh, no, you guys can study here. Rather than...
Well, I think her place, I think it's implied that where the grandmother lives is far from the university. Okay. That's why she gets away with staying at the palace later, because the palace is way closer to the school.
All right, that makes sense.
Versus, like, the high school was closer to, like, you know, the grandmother's place. But anyway, so Little Nung is like, when Big Nueng tries to change the subject and is like, why are you here? Little Nung answers, I told you I was going to come here, and I came here, like I promised you. But you didn't pick up any of my calls. Like, why didn't you do that? And so petty Big Nueng throws Little Nung's words back in her face, and she's like, I forgot, just like you forgot. And she's just being a petty bitch. Like, and it's ironic to me because in the prior scene that you were going over, when Big Nueng calls her, what did she say? She said, you're just a girl, you're a crybaby. She was trying to imply that, like, Little Nueng is emotionally immature. And, like, here's Big Nueng being extremely emotionally immature. Like, pot calling.
Oh, Big Nueng is definitely more emotionally immature than Little Nueng.
Right. So that other scene was real rich when she's like, you're such a crybaby because you're, like, not an adult. And, like, here's Big Nueng. She set up this whole scenario just to make Little Nueng feel bad. So, okay, Big Nueng, whatever. But, like, why are we here? We're here because Little Nueng, remember, is Big Nueng's first love. This is all brand new for her. These are brand new big feelings she's never had before. Like, when she had her thing with Juan Viva, there was no emotions there. It was just like, that's a thing we did. Cool, let's be friends. This is completely different. She's like, I've kissed her twice, and I'm a mess. And so and then she's like, the first sign of her not keeping a promise, Big Nueng freaks out because she's afraid of losing all these feelings, losing this person, and she just spirals so hard, so fast. And to me, it seems like the way and look what she did. She set up this scenario to dangle her ex in front of Little Nueng. That's basically what she did. And that's something young people do when they're in love and they're trying to navigate scenarios. They're like, well, have you seen my ex? Like, she's playing games with her, like very childish games. So, like, that's where Big Nueng's at emotionally. Emotionally, she's very young.
And that's why the age gap is not really that big of a deal, because
I agree.
Both the way that they were both raised is stunting their social skills and emotional, like, all these things that you learn through life experience. They both didn't get that because they were between being sheltered and I mean, Little Nueng is still young, but she had more freedom, whereas Big Nueng was more stunted because she was locked in a palace, basically. And wasn't given, like, wasn't around people. Like, she only had her sisters, really. We don't see her with a friend group now. It doesn't seem likely that she really had friends growing up because she was expected to probably be in classes all the time, be learning to take over. So she didn't get the chance to even find herself, and it's kind of backfiring.
Yeah. And to me, what's interesting about this particular argument they're having now is that it's really evident that Big Nueng is very emotionally immature and Little Nueng isn't. Like, the way Little Nueng navigates this conversation, she does it with emotional intelligence, especially when it comes to this romantic relationship they're having. This is brand new territory for both of them, but Little Nueng's better at navigating it, which is something I find so fascinating about their dynamic, especially in the context of the age gap, because Big Nueng's supposed to be the one with the wisdom, but she's fumbles the fuck out of this because she doesn't know what she's doing. And she was so repressed, like you're saying, Kaitlynn. All of that is becoming very evident right now, that she has no idea how to relate to people, especially when it comes to this kind of relationship. And Little Nueng is way better at it.
I wonder if it's Little Nueng, like, just threw herself into books growing up, so she saw other people. Because, like, I know for me personally, like, watching TV, I learned so much from just doing that. And I think just Big Nueng was stuck on Twilight for a
time. Oh my god. Which, this is not a PSA for why you should not think Twilight is any kind of, like, bastion of, like, morality or, like, romance. Look at Big Nueng. Oh my god.
Yeah. So I think Little Nueng has been able to learn more that way.
I agree. She's reading Pluto. And she's like, I learned so much more from this book, which... What is that book even about? We really need to read it. Don't tell us in the comments. I don't want to be spoiled, but, like...
Yes, please don't.
Please don't. It's a comment. It's just something that's been in my brain the more I learn about it. I'm like, what is this show exactly?
Yeah, like, especially when she was... I was like, that's Pluto that she's
reading
about with Satan?
Like, right, exactly. I'm so confused. What is this book? I can't wait. Okay.
Don't tell us.
Don't tell us. We'll figure it out. Okay. So, at this point in the conversation, Little Nueng is getting... really, really upset. And I think Big Nueng is at the point where she's like, I've taken this too far. We should go in private and actually talk. So she recognizes the lover's quarrel for what it is, and she's like, let's go back upstairs. But Little Nueng shakes her off. And this is one of the first times that Little Nueng is very direct with Big Nueng about what she wants, when it contrasts with what Big Nueng wants. And Little Nueng's like, no, I'm really sick and tired of you misunderstanding me or pretending not to understand me. She's like, I'm over this. I can't keep loving you, basically is what she says if you're going to keep doing this shit to me. And she turns to walk away. And Big Nueng pounces immediately, and she's like, I don't like it when you walk away from me. And this reminded me of what Sam did when Mon turned away, and she's like, I don't like it when you do that. But and what Big Nueng is saying is like, I don't want you to leave me, is kind of what she's admitting. And she looks very freaked out. And Little Nueng turns around and she's like, well, I don't like it when you go on dates with other women, Big Nueng. Which, yeah, fucking valid.
That's very fair.
Valid. This is fucked up, man. And Little Nueng is like, listen, you know how I feel about you. I say it constantly so that you know, and there's no doubt in your mind how I feel about you. She's like, why do you keep doing this to me then? You know how I feel. And I think this is when Big Nueng is really still stuck in her denial. It's very evident in this conversation when Little Nueng is trying to be like, confront the truth right now or I'm leaving. And Big Nueng is still struggling with it. So she tries to like play dumb. But it just doesn't work because Little Nueng is like, you cannot ignore the elephant in the room. You cannot ignore what's between us. You can't ignore the truth. And that's when she says, like, we kissed. You remember that, right? And I didn't blame you for, like, ignoring it or pretending it didn't happen. That's fine. Like, you're not ready to accept this for what it is. Because Little Nueng knows Big Nueng is a closed-off person, and it takes time for her to, like, accept her feelings, process them, talk about them. I think she knows that about her, which is why she kept playing these games where she's like, I'm your girlfriend, right? And she's like, wait, what? No, and she's like, okay, fine. You're irreplaceable in my life. I didn't say girlfriend. And Big Nueng's like, okay. And they're flirting over eating, and then things like that. So she's, like, trying to warm her up. I think she knows that about her. And I'm sure that Little Nueng was patiently waiting for Big Nueng to, like, acknowledge that their relationship has changed. And it did change. And Big Nueng knows that it changed. But, like, she's in her head about all the family chaos, the age gap, all that kind of stuff. And Little Nueng is at the point where she's like, enough, okay? You can't keep running from this. We need to fucking face this truth. And Big Nueng in this conversation is like, we're not going to talk about this. And Little Nueng's like, no, we're fucking talking about this right now. We kissed. Remember that? Let's say it out loud. You can't deny it. We did this. It was mutual. This was not a one-sided thing. And she's like, also, I know you love me because I fucking heard you in the library. And it's like Little Nueng is doing everything in her power to just get Big Nueng to see the truth and admit the truth for what it is. And I think she was getting real close because the tears are starting. Tears are starting in Big Nueng's eyes. And of course, because we can't have nice things, the phone rings. And I'm surprised Big Nueng answered it, but I think she just wanted a distraction from this conversation.
Oh, yeah, she's definitely like, oh, this is the best way to get out of this, to confronting everything right now.
Right. This is getting way too real.
Something else.
It's getting way too real. And she picks up the phone, and she's like, Sam, why do you sound like this? And Sam is basically like, ding dong, the grandma's gone.
Theora, the way you just said that.
And we don't get to see how the rest of this conversation went down because I would love to know how this went down. We just cut straight to the funeral. And what I love about this is, like, the grieving family consists of Nueng, Sam, and Mon. I love that they included Mon and Auntie Nim. That's the family waiting. If you notice, it's them, which is really sweet. Like, the most valued member of the household, like the staff. And who basically probably raised the three of them or whatever, not the three sisters. And then Mon. I love that Mon's included. It's really, really sweet.
Well, Mon probably knew the Grand Fam more than Big Nueng at this point.
At this point, yeah, for real. And I love Mon's behavior. It's very Mon. Good job, Marissa. It's very Mon, the whole behavior. She, like, never leaves Sam's side. And, like, her arm is always around Sam's waist. And it's just very sweet. The way how supportive she is of Sam, who's clearly devastated. But, I mean, Big Nueng kept her word, right? I won't come back to the palace till the grandmam's dead. She's back at the palace now. And she's got that, like, I'm number one, I'm the ML in charge mask on, which means she's going to start behaving the opposite of the way she feels. She's back in that environment. She's regressing back to that. So
She's number Nueng.
She's number Nueng. All right. Then we get a couple of visitors, the only ones that Nueng knows. So Little Nueng and her family shows up. And and they only address her, which is interesting. Again, I don't think they know who Sam is. And Little Nueng tries to sidebar Big Nueng, and Big Nueng's like, go inside. Just go inside. Be with your family. She's very dismissive. Then Juan Viva shows up. And I love when Juan Viva shows up. First of all, she addresses all three women, not Auntie Nim. I think Auntie Nim's gone at this point. But anyway, it doesn't matter. She addresses all three of them as like Kun Nueng, Kun Sam, and Kun Mon. So way to put respect on Mon's name, because that girl's been through it with Sam. So love that. But Juan Viva, when she shows up, puts her like hand on Nueng's arm. And like Big Nueng is kind of like a little bit affectionate back with Juan Viva, but like there's no feelings here, which is just very evident. All right. But then we get the worst part and the most egregious part of this whole thing is the way Nueng treats Sam. So Nueng starts going into her villain era for the rest of the episode. And it starts with Sam. So Sam, we get several shots of like the actual funeral and like the religious ceremony that goes on. And Sam is clearly just devastated. She spends the entire time just crying. And like Mon is just like watching Sam like a hawk because Sam's not doing well. And Nueng the entire time like doesn't shed a single tear. And in the ceremony, Little Nueng is hovering, basically. She's sitting behind Big Nueng, and she's watching her extremely closely because Little Nueng is like the Big Nueng whisperer. She knows how she feels, right? Despite the bullshit. Okay. So then when the funeral's over, they all kind of rush outside. And Big Nueng is trying to leave the palace because she needs to be alone to process her feelings because that's just who she is.
She has no idea even how she's feeling right now. Like, there's too much to even process.
Right, and here she is, she's like head of family and has to play host to all these fucking strangers or family members or whatever. So she can't afford to like break down the way Sam can. Sam's done the hard part of like taking care of the grandmam, and now it's like on Nueng to be the face of the family. So like there's also that is her other motivator for trying to like be the stoic one. So she's like, I did my duty as head of family. I'm leaving now. All the guests are leaving. This is over. Plus, she's the type of person that has to be alone to process her feelings, so she's trying to get the fuck out of there. But Sam stops her outside and just, like, hugs Nueng. Because that's what little baby Sam needs, right? She needs a hug from her sister. And she brings up the fact that she's like, Nueng, we're the only ones left now. We're the only family left. Like, somehow it's the two of us. And I think part of this hug from Sam is that Sam is afraid that, like, Nueng's going to run away and disappear, and then Sam's going to be all alone. I think that's also, she's just like, please don't leave me, as part of what this hug means. So, Big Nueng is trying to be her big sister and cheer her up, and she's like, listen, like, you know, look on the bright, yeah, this was shitty, but look on the bright side. The grandmam's gone now. And, like, you don't gotta stay here with her and, like, take care of her. In fact, you can move in with Mon and have the whole palace to yourself now. Like, isn't that good? You don't have to hide your relationship fully. Like, you just be a boss bitch with your wife in this house. And Sam's like, wait, what? No, like I can't even imagine this house without the grandmam in it. What do you mean? Like, I can't be thinking about that right now. Her body's still inside. What do you mean, Nueng?
Everything out of Big Nueng's mouth right now is the wrong thing to say.
It's very insensitive. Like, I understand on some level what she's trying to do. She's like, look on the bright side, Sam. Look on the bright side. And Sam's like, now is not the time. Now is the grieving time. I'm not on the moving on yet. It just happened. So once this starts going and Sam gets more upset, Nueng just keeps pushing this. Because I think Sam being upset is starting to make her upset. And, like, she's like, I can't be upset. So she, like, doubles down on all this stuff. And so she's, like, in an over-the-top aggressive way, quote, pointing out the positives. Because she's, like, projecting the opposite of what she's feeling in this scene. And the only person who picks up on this in the moment is Little Nueng, who's, like, watching this all go down. And, like, I'll say it a million times. While she had this very tortured relationship with her grandmother, I think Nueng still loved her and is super devastated by this news. But she's doing her best to cling desperately to the mask of everything is fine, you know.
Well, but she's also back in the role that she left before, and that's what she had to do. Like, she's back in this palace, like, the walls go up. She's 16
again. Yeah, exactly. She regresses when she comes back to the palace. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, she's like, Sam, anyway. So meanwhile, this weird conversation is going down with these two sisters who are handling this situation very differently, and this crowd has gathered, right? Including Little Nueng and Mon. And Mon is not someone who will stand around and watch Sam get beat up and upset. Like, so she does the most Mon thing possible, which is to march up to Big Nueng and tell her to fuck off and leave her wife alone. She's like, you're making Sam upset and I'm not going to watch you do this. Like, shut up, Nueng. Like, you feel whatever you want. Just stop attacking Sam. Like, it's the most Mon thing I have ever seen Mon ever do.
Well, yeah, and also because so Mon's seen Sam just try to keep everybody together, that she's like, this is the last thing that she deserves. Like, she deserves everything for trying to keep this family together.
I mean, Mon's been on the journey of, like, Sam trying to make everything right with the grandmother. I'm sure that, like, they've had a hell of a month or however long the grandmam's been sick, where, like, Sam's been living at the palace, because they don't live in the palace, they live somewhere else. And I'm sure that Sam has not come home because she's, like, taking care of the grandmam, and Mon has, like, is trying to be Sam's support system while Sam is watching her grandmother die in front of her. I'm sure their relationship got very, like, strained and difficult leading up to the actual death. And, like, Mon is just watching Sam get more and more and more upset the more words Nueng says. And she's like, I don't care who you are, if you're the queen or whatever the fuck. Just leave my wife alone. Stop making Sam cry. Like, you're pissing me off, Nueng. And so I love that Mon did that. It was fucking amazing. So Nueng's like, fine, you don't want me here. I will come back after the cremation or whatever. And
for the cremation.
Huh?
For the cremation.
Okay, whatever.
No,
day of cremation or whatever.
Yeah.
So Sam is like, you're not going to stay here? I love what Nueng says. It's really funny and, like, speaks to her superstition. She's like, come stay here. Absolutely not. That bitch is definitely going to, her ghost is going to haunt my ass so hard. She's like, first of all, we were fighting. And second of all, the grandmother died on the 1st of the month. She's definitely going to come and try and kill me. Like, that's what she says. It's so funny. I love that.
And now she just put that in Sam's mind. And Sam's also scared of ghosts.
He's like, fuck, Mom, I don't want to stay here. Mom's like, it's going to be fine, Sam.
I feel like when
Sam.
everyone leaves, Sam and Mon are going to be in the palace. And Sam's just going to be, like, looking over her shoulder. Like, is she here?
Sam's not going to be able to
Mon's
sleep.
just like, Sam, you're okay.
It's okay. Sam. It's going to be fine, Sam. I'm
You're
sure.
safe.
Mon's in for some sleepless nights at this palace. Like, oh, good lord.
Mon's like, I'm never going to sleep again.
No, poor Mon. Mon's going to be exhausted. All right, so after that blow up, Big Nueng goes back to her apartment. And in the safety and solitude of that place, Faye gives us a masterclass in acting, where Big Nueng finally breaks down. And she's like, it doesn't even make it into the apartment. She's like, makes it into the apartment enough to close the door and then breaks down against the door. Like, she barely makes it in. And in this moment where she's just, like, feeling everything, she starts reliving happy moments with the grandmam. And I love the first one they show. It's like the two of them sharing a meal together when Big Nueng was younger. And I love this one because, again, food equals love. And I think the woman giving them the food might be Auntie Nim, which would be really cute if that was supposed to be her, because it's like the whole family. So I love that they shared that together and kind of, like, were able to. It was just the two of them. There weren't other place settings at this table for, like, Sam or Song. This was literally just the two of them having, like, sharing food together, which Nueng associates with affection, right?
It's also nice to see because before this, we haven't seen in either show Big Nueng having a good relationship with the grandmam.
Right.
Like, this is the first time we're like, oh, okay, there were good times. So there is going to be that pull in Nueng because of the grandmam's death. Like, it's not just that she's always resented her. There were times where they did get along. So that's going to make her feel guilty, and we do see that. And then the next part, the next flashback's my favorite.
The next flashback blew my mind. So we get confirmation that Big Nueng's love of art came from the grandmam. Like, she bought Big Nueng I would assume is her first like sketchbook and art supplies. And so she did encourage Big Nueng's passion for art, because the way it's set up in Gap is that she's like, how fucking dare you draw or whatever. Whereas here it's more so that like, no, she did encourage her to like give into her hobbies and stuff. Like she bought her supplies, but it's when she was like, no, I just want to make this a career. That's when it became a problem. Because she's like, publicly, you want to go out there and do this? Absolutely not. That's not, that's not what swans do,
She's like, I should have never given you that book.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that was, those were the good times, and kind of we are where we are with the Gram. And I wanted to read a passage from a book that I just finished reading that sums up this whole thing that's going on with them. So it's a book called The Women by Kristen Hanna. It's amazing. I won't spoil it, but basically it's about this woman American woman who volunteered for the Army service as a nurse in the Vietnam War. And it kind of goes through like how women served and how they were treated there and then when they came home. And one of the plot points that's really big is her relationship with her father. And her father like hero worshipped the men in the family that served, but not her. And they ended up with this very tortured relationship. And basically, I just want to read a passage from the end of the book where like she kind of comes to realize what's going on here and kind of like how you move forward. So she fought the urge to say she was sorry. Again, she said it to him, her father, dozens of times in the past few months, and she knew how uncomfortable it made him. At first, she'd hoped her apology would be a beginning, the start of reparations, maybe. A healing that could only come through conversation. Pause, because at this point, this woman went to therapy and stuff and has learned that, like, I can't hide from what happened, I have to confront it. Okay? So she's basically being like, I tried to do that with my dad. I tried to talk to him about this trauma. Okay, back to the quote. She longed to tell him he'd hurt her and understand why he'd been so cold and dismissive about her service in Vietnam. Okay, so Nueng with the grandmam, right? She's like, I'm trying to talk to you about this thing that's between us, right? But you're being cold and dismissive about it. Okay, back to the quote. But it was not to be. He had no interest in talking about it. He wanted to pretend the war had never torn his family apart. Dr. Alden, her therapist, had taught her to accept him. That's what family meant. Sometimes hurts didn't quite heal. That was life. That is the exact situation Nueng and the grandmam's relationship is now in forever. Because bottom line, these two, like the characters in this book, had a very complicated relationship. There's love there. Even if it's not always being expressed, quote, correctly or like in a healthy way. Like they loved each other. But these are people who express it very differently, right? Sometimes some people are, especially the younger generation, is more comfortable with talking about trauma, talking about problems, whereas the older generations were taught to be silent sufferers. That's something to be prideful about. And I think that's what ended up happening with these two women. And what's really sad is that they were never able to mend this relationship. Like the grandmam's gone forever now, and neither of them have a second chance to like try this again. Like it's just over. And so all Nueng has now are just these memories. And it's, kind of the thing we were talking about earlier, Kaitlynn. It's like, oh, well, why do people like put people in saint levels when they passed away? But here's Nueng being like, it wasn't all bad. We had good memories. That's why she was so adamant about like fighting with the grandmother, because she wanted to mend it. But the grandmother had a different ideology of, sometimes some people don't want to talk about stuff and you can't force them to. And like, here's the result of that kind of situation playing out with these two women, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that she's never gonna get that. I was actually surprised that they didn't have them
reconcile.
Yeah. But like it makes more sense for Big Nueng's character development to not have them reconcile. I just cannot believe that they killed the grandmam off in the first season. I also did not think that that lady would die.
I think that it makes sense for it to go down this way, just because the two of them were so similar that neither of them were gonna cave to the other. Like they just that's why I read the passage, because sometimes that's just real life. Sometimes you can't mend it. That's just it happens like that. Not everything is like a TV show. Granted, this is a TV show, but it doesn't always get not all plot lines get nicely like laid out and like concluded. Sometimes it just you're left unread forever, and Nueng is left unread forever with her grandmother. Sometimes that happens, and she just has to live with that. And you can tell in the scene, it's tearing her apart that like that's what it is. This is it forever now. And so the only person who kind of saw that this was not okay with Big Nueng was Little Nueng. So while Big Nueng is bawling her eyes out on the floor, Little Nueng shows up. How did she get away from her family to come here? That's my question. She can't be like, oh, the funeral's over, I gotta go study now. Like, how did she get out of their hair? She was with all of them a minute ago.
She is an expert at escaping at this point.
Literally. She's fucking Harry Houdini, I swear to God. Anyway, so she gets away, and she gets to Nueng's, and she's basically knocking on the door until Big Nueng gets up. Which my favorite thing is she's like, go away, I'm sleepy. I'm like, you're at the door. What do you mean I'm sleepy? At the door, Big Nueng? Come on now.
She's like, I shall sleep right here. Right? I will not move for 2 days.
I'm sad I sleep in the kitchen. Yeah, it's proof she's not in her right mind, because this was absurd. So she does her best to compose herself, like pretend like I wasn't crying, you're crying, before she opens the door. And Little Nueng knows her well enough to see what's going on. And she basically says, she's like, are you okay? The first thing out of her mouth is, are you okay? I don't think anybody's really asked you that. And I don't think and if they have, you haven't given anybody an honest answer. So, are you okay? And really she came here so that Big Nueng wouldn't be alone, because she's definitely not okay. And I love when Big Nueng tries to really dismiss her and be like, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. But I love that Little Nueng points out essentially that they're the same. She's like, you're just like me, so I know you're not okay. And she's like, you and I wear the same mask. The mask of smile when you're sad. And you were smiling a lot. So the more you smiled and the more you pretended like it was fine, that's when I knew how devastated you were, because that's what I would have done. And I love that she basically tells Big Nueng, she's like, I see you. I know how hurt you are. Like, acknowledging that, like, I see you, Big Nueng. Like, I don't see the mask. I see right through you. I know you're not okay. That's why I'm here. So, I love this because we've said it before. These two can understand each other on a level that not many others can. And this is one of the grounding forces that really bonds the two of them. This trauma response they have to, like, project the opposite of how they feel. And that's what lets them understand each other in such an intimate way that Little Nueng knew she had to be here, because she knew how not okay Big. And truly this kind of genuine understanding is what they both need in their lives. And to me, it's very meaningful that Little Nueng gives this kind of understanding to Big Nueng in this scene so willingly and so genuinely. She's just like, I'm just here for you. And all the credit to Yoko with how she delivers that line, I'm here for you. She like drops her voice into this very soothing, steady tone. And it's very warm and loving. And it's a tone she's never used to speak to Big Nueng before. And she keeps it that way for the rest of the conversation. And it's such a brilliant choice to me, because it's showing how much she loves Big Nueng by how she's speaking to her when Big Nueng's at her lowest moment, which for a perfectionist like Big Nueng, you never want somebody to see you when you're at rock bottom. Like, that's humiliating to her. But here's Little Nueng being like, I'm your safe space for this. It's okay.
Which no one's really said. Like, no one, I mean, even with Sam, Big Nueng had to be there for her.
Right. Sam was not in the headspace to take care of anybody. Sam just gave the last who knows how much time of her life to take care of the dying grandmother. Sam does not have any more emotional strength in the tank to take care of her sister. And I think that's maybe another reason Big Nueng was like, I can't crumble in front of Sam. Sam can't handle this. I have to be Sam's pillar But she was going about it the wrong way, and Ma's like, I'm her pillar, get out of here, you're making her sad. Talk later.
Big Nueng doesn't actually know how to diffuse situations.
No, not at all. She's good at blowing shit up, not diffusing. You're right.
I'm sure Little Nueng was listening to it. I was like, oh, God. I can't even do anything right now. She's like it's not my place.
She's like, this is why you need me with you always. And Big Nueng is not the type of person who's going to admit when she needs help. So Little Nueng does it for her. She's like, I'm just going to do it for you. So you don't have to ask me because I know that's hard for you. So after she tells her I'm here for you, she pulls Big Nueng into a hug. And once she's in the hug, that's when Big Nueng breaks down. Okay? Because you can see this moment of acceptance kind of pass on Nueng's face. Like, kudos to Faye on here, because it's like she accepts the comfort she's being offered and she fully feels the grief and the bad feelings that she's been trying so hard to fight and pretend that everything's fine. And so she just lets it all out, which Big Nueng doesn't normally do. And breaks down in Little Nueng's arm and clings. The way she's clinging to Little Nueng is just like, it shows how much she needed that. She needed that support from somebody, that emotional and like physical support. And Little Nueng is very sweet and just like holds her back and is like, I'm here, and like does all the comforting things that she can, which is really, really sweet. And it's important to note that in this moment when she's crying, all of Big Nueng's walls calm down. It's more than just cheer. All of them are down. And then we get to a point where the mask is completely gone. All of her emotional walls are just, they're gone. And they stay gone the rest of the scene. So with all of those emotional walls completely gone, Big Nueng starts spilling out her secrets and all of her regrets. These things she's never told anybody else. Just not even Sam. I don't think she's told Sam any of this shit. And she just holds Little Nueng's hand and like tells her, like, basically, I wish I was less selfish and more selfless when it came to my grandmother. She says things like, I should have been nicer. I should have married Chet. Like, all the regrets coming out because she's upset that, like, this is it. Like, they ended on bad terms and that's it. There's no reversing that. There's no mending it. It's over now. And Little Nueng's like, tries to comfort her by saying, don't blame yourself. And she will keep bringing this up to Big Nueng because Big Nueng completely, once the grief is settled in and it's over, she just blames herself. And Little Nueng's like, there was more people involved with just you, okay? It's not all on you. Like, don't put this all on you.
But also, Big Nueng just told Little Nueng that she should have married her dad. And I just, like, if you actually think about it, it's hilarious.
Let's never talk about that again, because that's fucking weird. Big Nueng, no, you shouldn't have. But what I also love about this moment when Little Nueng's basically saying, don't blame yourself, I think maybe this is one of the first times ever that Big Nueng has ever truly been seen by another human being. Because, I mean, she's being completely honest, she's being completely vulnerable, but she's being seen in a way that I don't think anybody's ever really seen her. Not even Sam, truly. Because she's been carrying this guilt of hurting people for years. Like, you know, that's why she keeps getting in these dilemmas where she's like, what choice should I make? Because I keep hurting the people I care about. And this is the first time somebody in her life is like telling her, this isn't your fault, not entirely. Like, don't just blame yourself for everything that happened in the past. Don't dwell, because you'll never get out of this hole of grief if you do that. But Big Nueng is at the point where she doesn't feel like she deserves really to be absolved from all this guilt. Like, she's got that, like, the self-loathing that she's been carrying that we keep bringing up, to me almost feels like a security blanket for Big Nueng. It's like one of those things, it's like, yeah, it's an ugly feeling, but it's like the one feeling I've had for so long. And like, without this feeling, who am I? It's like an identity crisis kind of thing. It's like Stockholm syndrome, but for emotions. She's like, without the guilt, without the anger, who am I? Like, that's scary. That's a lot of change, like you said at the beginning, Kaitlynn, like to have, you know. And the irony is, of all the people telling her this, it's Little Nueng, right? She's like, of all the people, I don't feel like I deserve a redemption arc from you, the person I almost played a role in harming, you know, like when Pangfa was pregnant. So this is a shitty situation for Big Nueng to be in. She's like, I don't know how to feel in this situation. I just feel terrible. And like, I think she feels irredeemable. She feels like the villain. I don't think she sees like the light from the tunnel. Until Little Nung's like, okay, in this situation, I don't think there's anything I could tell you to make you feel better, so let's try a different tactic. And so she kisses Big Nueng on the cheek. And the minute she does that, Big Nueng stops sobbing. It's the only thing that gets her to stop. So Little Nung's like, okay, that worked. So let's try this again. And she kisses her on the lips. And again, Big Nueng does not sob. So what does this mean? I think to Little Nueng it means, oh, I can make her feel better. I can be the one to absolve her of her sadness. And I'm going to do everything I can to erase her sadness. And then from Big Nueng's point of view, I think it means, wow, this young woman sees me at my absolute worst and still wants me. She must really, really love me. I don't deserve love, and I will lose the entire trust of her family if I cross these lines. But you know what? I'm too exhausted to fight this, and I feel good right now, and I just want to feel good.
Emphasis on exhausted.
Emphasis on exhausted.
She has been fighting her entire life.
Yes.
At this point, she's paralyzed from emotions. So she's not thinking, and she's still in her villain era.
She's in her grief. This is a grieving human being, okay, who's feeling the worst feeling she's ever felt in her life. And then she's like, oh, a good feeling. Okay. Somebody who's never had emotions before, suddenly having these big, powerful, terrible emotions. And it's like, oh, a good feeling. That can be addictive in this scenario. And it also demonstrates the power that Little Nueng has over her, that like a feeling invoked by Little Nueng can override this extremely powerful guilt she was just broken down on the floor over. So that's a couple of things are being demonstrated in this scene. But this was a recipe for disaster because Big Nueng is not okay right now, even though she stopped crying. And so unfortunately, or fortunately, we head over to Big Nueng's bedroom where these two have sex for the first time. And I don't like that we arrive here with Big Nueng still sobbing. Like, she's actively sobbing. And it's like, why are we here right now? This is so not okay right now. One of you is very much not okay. Like, we shouldn't be here right now.
And Little Nueng is literally the first time.
Yeah. Okay. But we're here. We have to talk about it. So it's worth noting in the scene that Little Nueng is the top in this scenario. She's in charge. She's setting the pace. And she's very tentative and sweet with the way she goes about it. And who can blame her? Like, she's finally getting what she wants. And Big Nueng's about to be hers in all the ways. But I like that she's still the emotionally intelligent one in this scenario. So she's, again, like, her main motivation was like, I want her to feel better and stop crying. So she starts with just like kissing her cheek and stuff like that, and which gets Nueng to stop crying. And then she's like, okay, maybe I can kiss her a little bit more or whatever. And so at some point, like, the hormones in Little Nueng clear up enough for her to be like, whoa, I might be taking advantage of you in this scenario because you're actively grieving. And she says, this might not be the right time to do what I was just about to do. Because, like, from Little Nueng's point of view, I think it really breaks her heart to see Big Nueng this upset, right? And she's rarely the one in the position to take care of Big Nueng because Big Nueng is stubborn and never lets anyone see her as weak and would never accept help, except in this moment. So I think that that's addictive to Little Nueng in a way because she gets to see Big Nueng. Nobody else would ever get to see this. So it makes her feel special, right? So she's like, all right, but like maybe this is too much because you're upset. So then she tries to pull away and like end whatever this is. But Big Nueng like respectfully, aggressively pulls her back and is like holding her like a lifeline. And she's like, please stay with me. Like she starts like playing with her face and stuff. And it's basically like, no, like I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be alone. That's basically what she's saying. And Little Nueng is so deeply devoted to Big Nueng that she literally would do anything to make her happy. So when Big Nueng essentially begs her to stay, Little Nueng had no choice but to give Big Nueng whatever she wanted. She's like, I'll give you everything you want. She's like, everything? All right.
I'll give you all the cookies.
You can have all the cookies. Yeah, so Little Nueng gives Big Nueng all the cookies in the scene. And this time was different when Little Nueng goes back in to kiss Big Nueng. Big Nueng kisses her back. And I do love in this, there are moments to be appreciate in this scenario. So then they start making out a little bit. And I love when Big Nueng does try to make a move to take control of the situation. And Little Nueng stops her and immediately is like, her hand starts wandering. And Little Nueng's like, nope. And like pins Big Nueng's hand above the bed. And and then starts undressing her. I'm like, what a power move from Little Nueng. This person who's never done this before is just like, absolutely not. I'm in control. If you're going to let me do this.
Read a lot.
So many novels. So many novels. So many novels.
She's read so much fan fiction.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, PSA of why it's important to read novels. Like this scene. Then we get into some unfortunate semantics where Little Nueng basically says, I'll do everything for you. And what she means by that is what's happening right now is all about you. I'm going to take care of you. You relax. This is about you feeling good. That's what this is all about. And what Big Nueng hears is, I'll do anything you ask no matter what. Causes a little bit of confusion later. But we'll get there, don't worry. We'll get to the terrible part later. But before we get there, I have to point out this other cute thing that happens that is pretty consistent. So when they're kind of hanging out there, Big Nueng does this thing where she's like tracing Little Nueng's face with her hands. And it's really cute. It comes up again in season 2, but she does it for the first time here. And it's like this like reverent kind of touch that she does. And it's sweet and kind of revealing of like how much she cherishes Little Nueng. This scenario is super fucked up because she's grieving and not okay. But like there are moments of like realness that kind of come out where, because again, Big Nueng has no walls right now. This is raw, very vulnerable person. And she's acting on all of her feelings because she, like you said, Kaitlynn, cannot fight them anymore. She's not fighting them. She's just feeling them and then doing things.
I can't fight this feeling anymore.
Yeah, like literally, that's what's happening. Okay, so they get to it. Little Nueng tops Big Nueng. That's what happens.
Little Nueng becomes Big Nueng.
Little Nueng does stuff to Big Nueng, and that's important because it's some fun semantics we have later, so we have to remember that's what happens. Then, unfortunately, we wake up the next day to Little Nueng's phone alarm going off. And when she wakes up, Big Nueng is not in bed with her. Again, call back to the beginning of this episode. And Big Nueng is staring out the window because now she's in her right mind. And just realized the bigger implication of what the fuck just happened last night. And poor Little Nueng is so happy when she wakes up and Big Nueng sits down next to her and she just like leans into Big Nueng and is like, I'm so glad this wasn't a dream. Oh my god.
Well, Little Nueng's dreams basically all came true. Like, Little Nueng thinks that her life is about to be the best thing ever. She's finally doesn't have to fight for what she wants anymore. She's got it.
Little Nueng wakes up, she's like, today was a fairy tale. Or a dress, that's Little Nueng. She wakes up, she's in La La Land. Oh my god. But again, she's leaning into Big Nueng and expecting her a hug, but a hug never comes. And then she pulls back and she's like, uh-oh. And Big Nueng is as still as a statue, and she's like, what's wrong? And Big Nueng's like, can you act like nothing happened last night? Like, let's reset this whole relationship back to zero where, like, I'm an artist and you're a customer. Let's go back to that. It's like, and to me, okay, this whole scene, what Big Nueng does here with Little Nueng, to me, is the most unforgivable thing. It's so unforgivable what she does. Like, she has good intentions here. She thinks she's doing the right thing, and I get that. But the damage she causes in this scene, like, this was Little Nueng's first time. And she did not deserve to be crushed and humiliated after her first time. Especially when she's like, what did you think this was? And she's like, this was love. What do you mean? Like, and to have Big Nueng crush her is horrible. It's truly horrible. This is fucking horrible. She'll need therapy for years for this. This is terrible.
Yeah, I know that this wasn't planned, but, like, there was a part of this that Big Nueng just wanted to feel good, and I would have rathered her just call the doctor and slept with her, because it would have hurt Little Nueng, but I feel like this hurts more.
This was terrible. This was
because, like, especially
terrible.
since it was her first time. Like, it makes it 100 times more worse.
This was terrible. This is the one unforgivable thing that Big Nueng does. This was truly horrific. Okay, but back to the "it's love" line. Yoko's line delivery, again, it makes it even worse by the way she says this. Okay. All right, and to some, I think this line where she's like, what did you think this was? And she's like, it's love. I think it reads, one read is that Little Nueng is young and naive and inexperienced and, like, thinks it's love when sex can mean many different things. And while that is true, like, she is young, she is naive and inexperienced. Little Nueng feels this way, though, because she knows Big Nueng, and she knows she was reading Big Nueng correctly the entire night. Because there were no walls happening with Big Nueng. And Little Nueng knew that. Okay, so to have Big Nueng now in the light of day with all of her walls up, insisting it's nothing, and it was an escape from her sadness, and she's like, I was just using you, basically, to feel better. Like, I think Little Nueng knows it's bullshit on some level. She's like, why do you keep doing this to me, though? Like, you keep pivoting, and you're lying to me, and it's bullshit. I think part of her knows that, and that's part of why it hurts so bad. And Big Nueng's like, I don't understand why you're upset, because last night you told me you'd be anything, right? You could do anything for me. And, like, that's what I needed. I didn't need a girlfriend. I just needed somebody there. And Big Nueng is posturing and doing this because this is the only way to stop the relationship. And she knows, like, I can't walk away from you. It's, like, really hard for me. So I have to get you to walk away from me. And remember the line, love is better than hate. She's like, well, you need to hate me. That's the only way this is going to work. Because Big Nueng is like, I'm too weak to stay away from you. And I need you to be the strong one here, basically. And it's such a petty coward move because she's running away from her problems instead of facing them. But she's also, like, manipulating Little Nueng into being the one that leaves and cuts the ties, right? And in her mind, she's sparing Little Nueng's family from finding all this shit out. And it literally breaks Little Nueng's heart. And you see her heart breaking on screen. She was just rejected after the first time she had sex with somebody. And, like, this is just this is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. Like, Big Nueng, how could you? This was terrible.
This is not okay.
This is not okay, and, like, Little Nueng's losing it, and Big Nueng, like, refuses to look at her or comfort her because she's trying to get her to hate her. And eventually Little Nueng is like, wow, you're really gonna do this? And she storms out of the room. And it's only when she leaves that Big Nueng starts crying. Because this was all a front, she was trying to protect Little Nueng by denying her own happiness and breaking everybody's hearts in the meantime. And then after a while of crying, she says to the empty room, Nueng, I'm sorry. And it's like, start singing, deep dive, the Taylor Swift song, Perfectly Good Heart. Why did you have to break a perfectly good heart? Nueng, what the hell? This song was written about you because this was some fucked up fucking shit. And I remember the first time I watched this, I did not know there'd be a season 2 of the show, and I was like, this is how it ends? This is the most fucked up ending ever? Where I'm like, I guess they move on from their lives, and it's open-ended, and, like, sure, that's poetic and shit, but what the fuck was this? What was this? How could you, writers, do this to me? This is the worst.
See, I'm just surprised that you thought that this was the end, considering you told me in the very beginning that there was 12 episodes.
I didn't know that at the time that I was watching this live. I didn't know. I thought it was over. I didn't see any announcements about season 2s. And I was like, shit, was I wrong? There's just 6 episodes? Because they have credits. I'm like, I guess it's over. Like, what the fuck? Can't just Google this easily.
I think that was a common thing, too. People did it. Because season 2s aren't common, it seems like.
And also, like, they didn't announce the season 2 until way later into the hiatus, which I didn't know was a hiatus. That was just over. And then they're like, oh, they're coming back next week. They announce things like the week before it comes out. And I'm like, oh, thank God, because what the fuck was that ending? Oh my God, it was terrible.
That would have been a terrible, terrible place to end. I don't think that we would be covering it this in depth if it ended there.
No, I needed season 2 for reasons. So many reasons. But damn, girl, this was Little Nueng has the right to be mad at her forever for this. This was super fucked up. You owe her, pay her therapy bills. Big Nueng, this is fucked up. Fucked up.
You owe her cake instead of cookies.
You owe her so many things. All right, that brings us to the end of season 1. Do you have any final thoughts about this roller coaster shit show of an episode? Beautifully done. Just wow.
No, because we have talked so much. We have input our Taylor Swift songs, but I feel like you have some more stuff to say.
No, I don't. That was it.
Okay. I thought you had more Taylor Swift songs at the end.
No, why do you have to break a perfectly good heart is the perfect. That's where it ends. Because why did you have to do that, Big Nueng?
That's all there is left to say for this season.
All right. So now, before we sign off, the Big Gay Energy Award. So, Kaitlynn, what won the Big Gay Energy Award?
I forgot about this.
For me, it's Little Nueng being like, you can cook, let's get married when I graduate.
Okay, so much has happened in this episode that I completely forgot the beginning of the episode, even though we recapped it. No, but like the issue was, you said it goes to like the same way we started the episode. I'm like, oh yeah, that was because I'm used to us filming multiple episodes in one day, but we can only film one because we takes forever to talk about it. Yeah. Maybe the her escalating it to we'll get married in 4 years.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that was good. And then Mon defending Sam against Big Nueng also had a ton of Big Gay energy. She was like, I don't care if you are the head of the family. Fuck you, Nueng. Leave my wife alone. Also Big Gay energy.
Oh. No. I got one. Okay.
I got another one too, actually.
When Little Nueng is like, can you teach me the stuff in the book?
Oh my god, her propositioning Nueng for sex. Yeah, that also has a lot of Big Gay energy. Out of nowhere. Juan Viva basically flirting with Nueng when she dropped her off. She's like, we're gonna stay friends or else, bitch. And all the kisses. And it's like, you're such a thirsty bitch that she called you out of nowhere. And like, you showed up for dinner at 11:30 at night, all dressed to the nines. And then we're like, yeah, Nueng, I'll pay for you and drive you. Girl, what? Anyway. I get it, though. It's Big Nueng. Okay, so now that we've made it to the end, if you've made it this far, Kaitlynn has a super secret word for you to put in the episode comments or review. What is the word, Kaitlynn?
Today's word is sacrilegious. As in, Big Nueng's actions were sacrilegious against lesbian Jesus at the end of this episode.
Yes, abso-fucking-lutely. There's your sentence, too. So, there it is. All right, guys, so when we come back next time, we will get to my favorite episode, which is episode 201. That's going to be a doozy, but way happier than this. So, until next time, hydrate for lesbian Jesus.
And get up all over the place. Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube.
Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing super gay content.